All right, guys, I'm back. Wow, there we go. I was like, can I get the right view? So reveals are in like 50 minutes. We are going to get some reveals today. That's going to be awesome. And we'll probably get them while we are talking about all of these card changes. You doing any reveals, RG? I can if they want me to. I'm more than happy to do reveals. Were they contacting us in some way, or what do we have to do? Like I said, I've been extremely busy, and I've been trying to pay attention to Discord as much as possible. Talk to Jade. Okay, I'll have to send her. I'll have to send her a DM after the show. Is that any content creators can do them? Awesome. Jade left a message for content creators a few days ago. If you're interested, consider. Yeah, Of course I'm interested. Of course I'm interested, Benny. Come on. I would love to do like a Saturday morning reveal. I think that'd be great. I don't know what your plan is for doing. I know last time you had like each day of the week was a different reveal, Mythic Mondays and all this other stuff like that. So I don't know what you're doing them like twice as fast now. So all these cards we getting revealed are like you're spitting them out. It's awesome. Friday, I'm doing some on the OLL Discord channel. Awesome. I uploaded my OLL videos unlisted. Does that consider me a content creator? Terror Shock, if you film yourself playing the game, you are a content creator. Don't care what you do. So let's go down this and talk about all the amazing cards that Benny and the staff over at PlayFusion have altered or improved or changed, nerfed, what all they have done for us. Battlemaster Talon. When one of your Chimchu buffs leaves play, deal 1 damage to target. That is so much better than expires, because when it leaves play, your opponent removes it and they still take a damage. That is an awesome increase. I think you went down to 30 health instead of 31. But that's a great improvement in my opinion. Is that when they leave play, they take a damage as opposed to when it expires. I think that's a much better way to go about this, especially if it's only 1 damage. If it expired, then you can go up to 2. But when it leaves play, that's a perfect spot for 1 to be at. Oh, he was at 29 health. Was he really? I don't know. I don't have a side-by-side comparison to this. I don't know. But either way, I like this updated version of the card. I think this one is much better than what it was before. And I think that with all the things that we're now getting, Battlemaster Town is finally going to find its place as a fine Shimchu deck person to hold its place. So I'm happy with the change to him. Celestian Spellbreaker. Your target draws a card face up. If that card shares an element with their last discarded card, they take 5 damage. Then discard the card that was drawn. So this is just your opponent now. This doesn't affect you. That is so good. That is so good. We're really getting into the active mill, and Celestian Spellbreaker is going to be an insane addition to that. Oh, I'm loving it. I am loving this active mill archetype. I'm loving it so much. I don't know if it might be too broken because it's literally destroying your opponent's resources. This is so good. This is so good. It doesn't affect you anymore. It literally doesn't affect you anymore. If that Sippin one also gets changed to the same type where it's just your opponent getting milled, if it's just your opponent getting milled, then it would be even more insane. But I do like the fact that it mills you both. Because like I said, I want insects to have a self-mill archetype to run kind of how Golgari does in Magic the Gathering, where both you and your opponent mill, but then you have better resources to work with your discard pile. Kind of how like Dread works with Undead in the discard. Insect needs something like that. I think that would be a great crossover between the two, and I'm so waiting for it. So waiting for it. But either way, Celestial Spellbreaker, I am super happy about this change. I am super happy about this change. Because, A, your opponent does get to draw the card, so it does have an effect like, hey, if it's drawn, you get to reveal it and do something. Whatever. Possible increase to 5 damage. And then they have to discard it. So good. It's so good. Hailfury Berserky. Berserky. Oh my word. That's his new name. He's the Hailfury Berserky. I don't know why I said that. Hailfury Berserker. If you receive 1 or more healing when you have 15 or less, before the healing is applied, deal damage. This card got a major increase in what it does. Because before it was 10 or less, and now it's 15 or less. So its healing cap got changed. And then the damage that it does output, I think used to be 333. So the damage variance went from high to low. Yeah, Hailfury Berserker looks like it's actually going to be playable now. There's a much wider gap for you to heal yourself as Astral is starting to go into more of the... Oh, it was 4 corners with 3. You're right. You're right. But just the fact that it's now 15 or less... With all of Astral's micro healing outside of like Duskfeeder, with all of its like heal for 2, heal for 2, heal for 1, heal for 2, all that stuff is really going to make Hailfury Berserker a much more viable card. And I think this card it's actually going to see a pretty good amount of play now too. So, surprised no one ever used it in Magrock. I think people tried to, but it wasn't necessary in what all Magrock was able to do with just the shadow buffs. But yeah, Hailfury Berserker, this card, like I said, looks a lot more viable and can play into the way Astral's micro healing works. And there's a lot of other micro healing. You could play this in a Dread deck with all the micro healing that you get from Dread. And have Hailfury Berserker be an insane spike damage burst from it too. Because put this in there with the Abyss Shades. That sounds awesome. It sounds really good. So I think this is a much needed improvement on that card. Move 1 card from your hand to your deck. Draw 2 cards. When you get attacked, they discard 1 card. Yes. Yes. Active Mill. Active Mill, move 1 card back, draw 2 cards, and then when you get attacked, they discard a card. Active Mill. Can we feel how awesome Active Mill is going to be in Astral? It's going to be insane. If anything, you just run it for drawing 2 cards. Put this out there, draw 2 cards, you put 1 back, you're like, okay, I'm not going to play this combo. It's like Selene, but it doesn't go to the discard pile, it goes to your deck. So it's more like Tempest. This is so good. This is so good. And then it stays there. It's like, okay, well, if you attack me, you got to discard a card. So do what you want to do. Yeah, Paralysis Bug. I love the upgrade to it. I think it's... Before it was even a great card, but before it was like your opponent couldn't attack for an entire turn. That was how busted it was. Yeah, it was like draw a card, your opponent can't attack. That's what Paralysis Bug literally was. And now it's just, draw cards, but then if your opponent attacks you, something bad happens to him. And Reality Rift. Am I missing something here? What was Reality Rift before? Because I feel... Oh, it doesn't draw. Okay. Was it draw before? Oh, no, it was like draw and get an additional action, right? Because I do remember it gave you an additional action. The original content now got nerfed to... Was it like draw 2? Was that what it was? Or was it just draw 1 card, move your last 3 discarded buffs into play? been nerfed twice. Okay. Well, I think we can all blame Fatal Zeph for that. Not to point fingers, but Fatal Zeph, hey man. No, I'm kidding. A lot of people realized how busted this card was. That's what it was. Yeah, it gave you the additional action, then it was nerfed to draw a card. Now they just took the card draw away, which, in my opinion, is fine. You did not need a card draw off of this. Getting 3 buffs back into play for a combo was insane already. Astral didn't need that strong of a combo. I think this one fits right in the power line of where it needs to be. People were running it for the 3 buffs regardless. They didn't care about the card draw that much. So just having it be move 3 buffs back into play, can even be combo buffs as well, makes this just still an amazing combo that people are going to run. Still a great one, especially with how much more combo-centric we're being. We're also making some changes to combos that can remove buffs. Black Hole now has Burn and removes 3 buffs down from all. Great. There should not be a full board wipe. Devour Soul is now Burn and heals for 6, down from 8. That's fine. Devour Soul a lot of times was used for 8 heal regardless, so having it be 6 kind of balances it out. Rock Melter now has Burn. Thank you. Cold Snap has Burn. Thank you. Everything has Burn if it's buff removal. That is so nice to see. So there's no more of that Storm Calling, Crushing Rapid jargon that we're ever getting. Crushing Rapids is now Burn and removes 3 down from all. Thank you. Which means now you can really go wide on board and not have a detriment of one combo killing your entire deck. Living Whirlpool is now Burn. Now always heals for 4 and removes 2 buffs instead of remove all and heal for the amount. That's fine. For a hybrid that removes 2 buffs and heal 4, that's really good for a control. That's A-okay. Rumination says hi. Right? Alright, I'll lay Reality Rift. Okay, I'll lay Rumination. Like, oh. But come on, man. Why? Why you gotta be that way? Freshman, welcome back. I'm not sure if we mentioned the Terraform change in the channel. It is changed to gain healing and deal damage equal to the number of buffs you have in play. If your target has more buffs in play than you, remove 2. No, I did not. If it's on the list, I'll see it. But Terraform, which is fine because it could have been a full board clear if you had no buffs in play. And now it actually makes you want to play buffs because you get healing and deal damage equal to the number of buffs you have in play. So Terraform, I think, got adjusted to where it needs to be. So good on you for that. These cards are still undergoing testing and may change further. We are considering further reducing the removal amounts of Black Hole, Cold Snap, and Crushing Rabbits by 1 each and make up for it with other effects. I mean, I could definitely see them reducing it down to only removing 2 buffs. As with how limited you really want to make buff removal in the game, if they stuck at 3, then yeah, you would still run them and you'd still have a huge swing turn. So removing 2, even removing 2, I think would be fine. And then getting additional increase somewhere else, I think will be fine. Cold Snap has always been removed too. Yeah, however, I do feel like if you made Rapids and Black Hole down from 3 to 2, you would have to move Cold Snap down, or just get rid of the 5 damage that Cold Snap does, and just have it removed too. Or Cold Snap could be kind of how Devour Soul is, but for Storm. I don't know. It all depends. It really all depends on how strong wide board decks are. That really all depends on what it is. Alchemy Lab. Increased damage done to other heroes and healing by rotation. When the sleeves play, draw a card. I think the previous version didn't increase healing. It was just damage, right? Because everything else on here looks really similar. Yes, yeah, I guess you're right. If it was just removed 2, it would be the action card. Yeah. I mean, I might be fine with staying at 3 then. I think that would be fine. But Alchemy Lab, I think they added on the healing to it. I think that's what they did. Oh, they re-put back in the Leaves play and not expired. That's what they did with a lot of these things. Okay. So it doesn't increase self-damage, and it has a better conditional card draw. So it's actually a lot more viable card. I mean, Alchemy Lab was still used, not as much, but the simple fact that it's now when it leaves play to draw a card means you can kill the buff yourself and draw a card. High Curator Arwin means you have to have a death buff in play in order for him to do it. Once again, a conditional increase on this ability because it's super good. I like it. You can still run Graveyard and have this considered do everything, so you're fine on that. Wall of Bones. Reduce damage received by, if this expires, you may move one undead card from your deck to your hand. That's really good. That's really good. I do feel this narrows it down to being more of a prevention that you're going to want to run only in an undead deck. So unless they start opening up the damage reducing cards like this in all the orders to be more family centric, and then you can splice in vice versa of what you want to do, then it would be a good way to do it. But as of right now, Wall of Bones now feels like it really wants to run only with undead, and you don't get the additional benefit if run in any other deck unless you have like at least 2 or 3 undead cards. But I mean, Wall of Bones is awesome. It's awesome. You get to move the undead cards to your hand from the deck. It's a search. It's super powerful. You can also move a Reckless to hand in Zelina. Yeah, you could do that. You could absolutely do that. You could move the Abyssal Horror to your hand and work off that the Abyssal deck that we were working on with the Starhorn Tuskers. Like there's a lot of things this opened up to. It feels like it's only good if you also run undead, and if you don't, it's just an average card. So I feel like doing this also means that they're going to open up other damage reducing buffs to fit more viable in other families to make the other ones seem better over this one. Reckless will have burn, but you can still move it from your deck to your hand. All damage reduction has been revealed. Oh, okay. Well then, I haven't paid attention. I apologize. But that's just, like I said, that means if they go this way, I really hope that means that they're opening up other cards for damage reduction that can be kind of replaced. But that also means that they have to be very careful to not overflood the card pool with damage reduction, or we're going to go back into a stall archetype. Reckless Spirit, 1 damage, remove 1 buff from the recipient. You may increase it by 1, and if you do, the recipient draws 1 card. I was okay with it. Reckless Spirit, this does feel really bad if you're making your opponent draw a card, but then again, with the new archetype, sub-archetype that Nature's going into, this now doesn't feel that bad. But, however, that means that this one buff removal card feels like it's only really good if you're playing that sub-archetype. And if not, you're only giving your opponent a card, which is where we need variance in our buff removal in our orders now, so that if you're not playing that sub-archetype, you have options to different buff removals that will fit better in those archetypes than, say, Reckless Spirit will, to make them draw a card. Hammer Down Enforcer. Take 2 damage, remove 2. It now has burn. There's 150 plus cards in this channel. There has to be a drawback to removing 2, though. No, I'm not saying that. There has to be a drawback to removing 2. The conditional increase is how you get to remove 2. And Reckless Spirit making them draw a card, that's a conditional increase. You could have it be the other one where Nature's really good at having 2 or more buffs from your opponent. It could be one where it's like, hey, if your opponent has 2 or more buffs than you, remove a second one. If you're not playing a very buff heavy deck, you could do that. a drawback that can be turned positive, though. Yeah, I mean, the 2 damage, there's a lot of things in tech now that take the 2 damage and do something with it. Reckless has card draw to do something with it. That's what I'm saying, where that's what fits the sub-archetype really well. Otherwise, the conditional increase that has a drawback to it, it doesn't fit as well in other sub-archetypes as it does in that one. That's why I'm saying it doesn't feel as good, because that's where you get the whole, well, it depends on the deck. Reckless Spirit works really well when you're doing the sub-archetype of, make your opponent draw cards. Outside of that, it's only suboptimal. So that 1 buff removal fits really well in that sub-archetype. I would like more buff removal to fit other sub-archetypes so that you can really open up those sub-archetypes and have them feel different in a way. You need to make a document for every deck idea? Dude, yeah. Vanguard, if you take 7 or more damage from a single hit, you are immune to additional damage that turn. From 8, I think 7 is a great number to have. 8 was just way too high. There were so many cards out there that did 7 and not 8 that Vanguard didn't really have a way to do anything. Right now, with damage kind of going down, but Mage Ship still being at 7, a lot of other things still being at 7. Vanguard, I mean, it's not going to go from, tier 10 to tier 1, but it did get improved where it might see more play, especially if, Mountain's 4-corner buff deck becomes really powerful. Vanguard is a good counter to it. But it's one of those where it's like, yeah, it's super situational, where it's very situational on what your opponent does to see if he actually works, as opposed to all the other heroes that we were talking about today, where it's based on what your board state is and how you can manipulate it that way. Nature is so conditional to what your opponent is doing to you that it's really hard for you to build a solid deck that runs 100% effective all the time. They're really relying on what your opponent does. And which is, once again, the one thing that I'm not too keen on. I like that sub-archetype. I'm not saying it's bad. I like it, but I would have liked to see it in the future. I would have liked, right off the bat, us to get archetypes for every order where the order itself had all the control to make it work, and it was up to your opponent to disrupt it. Not, hey, my deck is working, but it's reliant on my opponent to do something for it to work the way it needs to. Like, that's where I'm like, that's where I just don't want it to be the first one released. I would have much rather had each archetype 100% control over what it does, and it's up to your opponent to disrupt it. Not, hey, I have like 70% reliant on what I do. The other 30%, I hope you play along with my game plan and it works. Like that type of thing. Where it feels like Nature does do that a lot, and I really hope we get into more of a sub-archetype of Nature having more control over its own deck and board than relying on your opponent to do things. That's the only time you saw it work? That's insane. That's amazing. Siphoning Construct is now 3 damage. If your opponent played a combo or a last turn, you draw 2 cards. I think it just got increased by 1 damage. I think this just went up from 2 damage to 3 damage. Which is great, because this is where they should fit that conditional increase on these cards. Is the 3 damage is very average for a card, but the conditional increase makes the subpar card into a very good card that has the really good situational swing that makes you want to use it in those situations or put it in those types of decks. So I think this is a great increase. It's now, on par damage with a conditional increase that makes it a really good card. Repair Bot just lost 1 healing on the final corner. That's fine. I'm okay with that. Hive King Ixia, I think, in all honesty, was my favorite change that I saw from the nature cards. Because this is literally, if you take 6 or more damage from a single hit, you move an insectoid card from your deck to your hand. You don't like the change. I guess, yeah, there were a lot of cool interactions where you could put the buffs into play at the start of the turn and then have them interact on the buff phase. So you could do that. I mean, I'm okay with this change. And I'm really okay with the change. However, I don't think it should be on Hive King Ixa. What I would have actually, and this is just now me, like, just came to a thought. Hive Queen Axie has the ability, if your opponent has 7 or more cards in their hand, the damage is increased, right? I think Hive King Ixa, the way of how manipulative nature is being, and Rachel's like, and that is because, right? Spoil all my stuff to you. What I'd actually like to see Ixa to be a counterpart to Axie is if your opponent has 5 or fewer cards in their hand, Axie does something. To kind of be that counterbalance. Because as we've seen before, unless the hero has like one thing on it that, hey, when your opponent's hand size is large or small, whatever you want to do, like something like that could be really interesting. Have a counterpart and then have just this be on someone else. That'd be a cool Storm hero. If they have 5 or less cards in hand, do something. Yeah, that'd be a great Storm hero. That would really drive home their new hand size archetype. I don't think it does. I could be wrong. Maybe it's coming out. We just haven't seen it yet. But Hive King Axie, like, I'm actually not that upset. I'm not that upset by it. Yes, his previous ability had some really cool interactions. It did. But now, let's be honest here. Nature is getting a lot more ways to put buffs into play from your deck, from everywhere. We got Soul of the Forest. We have the Bramblewood Caretaker, which can move a buff from your top 4 cards into play. Like, there's so many ways to do that, that being able to put an Insectoid card from your deck to your hand after you take 6 damage is literally a tutor. And tutors are so good. They're so good. Because the way before, let's face it, the way before you played Ixa was to make sure you had a large hand size and then hoped you got hit for 6 to be able to play and cheat some in for free. And after that, you just draw and you'd kind of hold things back. And you wouldn't actually want to play them because you would want your opponent to hurt you first to get that cool interaction. It was if you played it like that and played it really greedy, it made the deck work really slow and your opponent didn't feel the pressure coming on. Now you can actually play and go really fast with this aggro style, while Axie makes sure your opponent have more cards in their hand and gets increases. This one, you can just dump your hand and do whatever you want, and then if they hit you, they refill your hand. And you can keep going. You can keep applying massive pressure with Ixa. Which is actually, that's why I'm okay with the 2 counterbalances, is Axie wants your opponent to have a large hand size so it can get conditional increases, right? It wants you to both draw cards, do all this thing, where Axie wants you to do it. Ixa wants to just dump your whole hand and then get hit so it can refill its hand faster. And that I'm actually okay with. We've already been seeing a lot of other heroes and other alignments that have those sweet interactions, like the Sora one. I think Vanguard should be changed from when you're about to receive 7 or more damage, reduce it by 1. I mean, I'm okay with how it is. With 7 or more damage reduced by 1, which means you can take 10 and 10. But Vanguard is solely meant to stop, like, OTK turns. Vanguard is meant to stop OTK decks. Because that means if you go against someone who's doing the Empowered Implant, that's still 14 then 14. Plus the 3 from the Dust Talon Assassin that doesn't get reduced. That's still a huge swing. With Vanguard, you take 15, and then you're just immune to damage. Vanguard is meant to be the hero, not to like stop a ton of damage, but it's meant to be the hero that's like, hey, you're playing an OTK deck? Okay, it's not going to work on my Vanguard. That's what it's meant to be. Which is where I'm okay with how Vanguard stands. It's not a top tier hero, But if you're going into a lot of OTK decks are being made, you play Vaguard and you just shut them down. It's not meant to shut down every deck, but it's meant to shut down quite a lot of them. But yeah, I'm actually okay with Ix Exchange. I am okay with it. It really relies, or it really brings into the more aggressive style of insects, and helps you refill your resources. You can stop an OTK deck just by removing an item. Yeah, but that means you have to splash in other action cards and take out what your deck wants to do. You can just stop it with the hero. It also relies on you getting an item, or the item removal. It's very reliant on doing that. This one just stops it from turn one. You can also stop it by winning first. That's absolutely true. Bot Launcher. Finally. Bot Launcher just felt so awkward. The damage wasn't... It was like minimal at first and then got better. And you sacrificed way too many resources. Now it's just 5/5/5/5. And we're finally going into the archetype of self-sacrifice with their Tinker bots. That Blast Bot it's a huge increase, and it's really going to help drive home that sub-archetype they're doing. That Bot Launcher is amazing. I love Bot Launcher. I tried to make it work. It just didn't have the potential. It was too slow. But now with it literally doing 5 damage, 5 damage, 5 damage, 5 damage, that's awesome. That is amazing. And I think Bot Launcher is going to see a lot more play now, especially in this new archetype that we're getting. Loyal Furhorn. 3 damage if you last discarded card as a Chimchar. You may restart one of your action buffs. Yeah, that's really good too. Obviously, going to play it in a Chimchar deck with a lot of buffs heavy. Yeah, Loyal Furhorn's good. It's more of an attack than it is defense-wise. That's where it fits counterbalancing with the Corvid that we just got. You think it needs a machine search card to make it work, though? I wouldn't necessarily say that. We already have the Demolition Bot, which helps you sacrifice your buffs. We already have... I mean, there's already a lot of other action cards that help you sacrifice your buffs in a way that obviously once you get Bot Launcher out, awesome. Great. It works amazing. Until then, you have action cards that help you draw cards and do all this other stuff. Tech has so many ways of drawing cards that I really don't think you need a tutor for it. I think it's fine. I think it's absolutely fine. The tech has it has so much card draw in it. If Rustforge was changed to also play robot cards, then maybe. If it was, then robot machine type archetypes would just be insane. Like ridiculously insane. But yeah, Loyal Furhorn, I like the change on him. And then Cabal Sorceress is now 2 Creeble cards instead of 3 to make it 2/2 damage. That's great, because we were finding those cards to be way too slow. Way too many resources to put into a buff just to have it removed. And then all that gets taken away. Really slow to activate. I think bumping it from 3 to 2 is a great change for these. I think the Bot Stomper got changed from 3 to 2 as well, which is a great change for that, because otherwise that card was just way too slow to do anything. So I think that's awesome to see on those changes. Crystal Bat, 3 damage. If the recipient played a combo on their last turn, heal for 3 or heal for 5. That's awesome. Once again, suboptimal, 3 damage off the 2.5 base. Can be massively increased to an 8-point swing. That's great. That's great. It reminds me of the Creeble Nurse. Which was like if you heal yourself for 3, but if you took 7 or more damage in a turn or in a single action, heal for like increase it by 4, like heal for 7. Crystal Bat is just I like it. I like the new dynamic that they're going with Mountain. Really goes off of hey, you lit a combo on me, I get to heal for 5. Otherwise, it's just 3 cards. The conditional increase is what I love. I love them so much. It means they fit into certain styles, and it's not just always a guaranteed. You hold them back for certain turns, you play your deck out, they do something, okay, awesome, I get a better turn with this. It really helps make those swing turns. Swoop Rider Kari, draw 1 card face up. If it's a beast card, you may rotate one of your action buffs 1 step forward. She get a health change? She go from 30 to 29? Or does she used to be gravity superior? Change on her is so minimal I can't tell. Kari is just 1 less HP. Okay. So yeah, I mean, that's fine. She was one of the more pro-dominant beast heroes in Astral that 1 health, maybe that makes better? I don't know. Crystal Core. Ignore any damage that would defeat you. When this happens, move this card to your deck and discard the top 2 cards from your deck. It's fine. Obviously, they still want to be able to keep Crystal Core back into your deck. Yeah, this was controversy time. A lot of people were just like, no, just have it go to the discard pile. Just have it go to the discard pile. I don't care. Just have it go to the discard pile. This one, I am, for the time being, okay with the new interaction that it actually mills you for 2. Yes, I would have loved to have it go to the discard pile and give it burn and just, nothing. If the card, I will say this. If it says ignore the damage, no. It can go back to the deck if you are about to be defeated, like by a certain amount of damage or whatever, like if the damage you take will defeat you, reduce that damage by like 4 or 5. Then you can shuffle it back in. Don't completely ignore it, but reduce it by some amount. And then you can have it go back in and discard 2. Because, like, legitimately, this one stops planetary alignment a full 12. There are so many, like, it stops so much damage that can come through that if this just had, like, a huge damage deterrent, means you could still blow them out with a huge hit. You brought them down to 1, you still planetary alignment them, they're still dead even past the Crystal Core. The Crystal Core doesn't stop a full 12 damage. It stops a big chunk, like 5 or 6, like I'd say 5. And then go shuffle back in. But it's not a be-all, end-all like Ice Block was in Hearthstone. Like, it doesn't just stop the turn. And you have to really play around it. There has been a lot of ways to play around it. There's a lot of micro damage, all that stuff like that. But I do think that just giving it a huge, like, hey, prevent 5 damage from that hit. Go into your deck, shuffle, discard 2. Something like that would be better. Or would be nice to see on a card like this. But yeah, if it's going to stop the whole thing, you make that Crystal Core shatter and go to the discard pile. That's what I would like to see. Ignore damage that defeats you. Move this card to your deck, take 2 damage. Set your health to 2, then take 2 damage. Then you're okay with it. But yeah, I think that's what Crystal Core should do. Is not just a complete deterrent of dying, is it should prevent a large chunk of damage, so that if they get down low, your options are to once again, hey, poke, pop it, and then move or whatever you got to do, or you still can like blow them up from 20. If they're at like 10, you still you overwhelm the Crystal Core in the fact that it just didn't work. That's what I would like to see. And that will be okay to then get shuffled back into your deck and discard 2 cards and still have it try and come back. But, like, if it's going to be able to block 12 damage, I want that Crystal Core to shatter and, like, never come back and give it and go to the discard pile. Yeah, that's where I'm coming from. If you're going to have it go back, don't have it be a be-all, end-all, stop all damage. I would be fine with it, like, preventing the last 5 damage. Be like kind of a Mamba on an item, where hers stores up those poison cards, and then when you're about to die from damage, reduce it equal to the number of poison cards you have under her. Just do something like that. You could even, if you want, change Jolty's ability too, where he stores a combo under him and reduce the damage based on the combo cost of what it would be. So you really want to put 4-cost combos in there, opposed to a Crystal Core. But I mean that would change a lot of the games. The hero might even not be that good anymore. There's just something like that, where you could put a big shield on, and not necessarily consider it like, hey, you threw a moon in my face, but I have this Crystal Core, so it did nothing. Like that type of feeling, where it's like I literally formed a planet, like I made the entire solar system line up to kill you, and you were wearing a little jetpack made of crystal and you didn't die. Like thematically, that just confuses me. Thematically, that's just really weird. Play this nature and intentionally take damage to mill yourself. Dude, self-milling, man. Self-milling. Run this in granted easy game. Like that's where I'm like, I don't know. I really don't think there should be any cards that just outright prevent all damage. We don't even have that from Umbron Brute. It's make combo damage deal 7, and it could deal 12 or 14 or whatever. Like that's a card. This is a card that just says, hey, you're about to die. Nope. Doesn't matter. That's where I think the Crystal Core should be, like a big damage prevention on a death, and then it can go back into the deck. That's what it can. Umbron Terror Guard. Okay. True. However, in that sense, Umbron Terror Guard is only for 2 turns. If Umbron Terror Guard literally was 2 Plunky Corners and prevented damage when you were below 10, like, if you're about to die, prevent it. Like, let's think about Breach the Veil. Or not Breach the Veil. The one Dread one that, like, if you were about to die, set your health to 7. That combo. That was so bonkers. Because you couldn't die for 4 turns. It literally prevented you from dying for 4 turns. It was the most busted thing in the game. Right after that is Crystal Core. That, yeah, you can wait that out. Like, that's what I'm saying, is that cards like this, it should be put on there as like, hey, I'm about to die. Okay, I prevent like 5 from a giant source. Or like, you can have like, hey, I'm about to die. Prevent 6 or 7. So it really has to be you brought down low for a combo to kill you. But like, it should not be in any way, sense, or form an all-out, I prevent like 12 damage. I prevent 14 damage. Like, if you're weak and bleeding and you have a Crystal Core on and someone punches you in the face for 15, you should be able to thematically break that Crystal Core and still have some damage go through. Ritual of Awakening. Thank you, Aquamarine. Thank you. Yeah, that card was nuts. Has that card change been announced? I don't know. It needs to be changed. It really does. But yeah, that's my opinion. That's my opinion on Crystal Core. Is for an item with no superiorities should not be a be-all, end-all damage prevention. Have it be one big final shield and then it goes in, or prevent all damage and shatter that thing and go to the discard pile. So in my opinion, I still think it needs work. It is better than what it was before, as there is a drawback to it going back to the deck. But it's like I'm just more going thematically on this one. I'm more going with thematically. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. For, like I said, you align the entire solar system and do 12 damage to the face that's supposed to kill you. And you have like a little crystal jetpack. And you're like, nope. Nope, not doing it. Nope. I don't care if you align the entire solar system to kill me. Nope. like the bat signal, right? Tempest Rod, attack ability. If you have 2 or more cards in your hand, remove 1 action buff from the recipient and discard those 2 cards. That's so much better than it was before. Before it was just you do the thing and then you discard, so you could do it with an empty hand. And it was nuts. It was bonkers nuts. I also think, was Tempest Rod superior in Wind? Or was it always just a 1? Oh, okay, it's not superior. But yeah, I think this is a much needed change. Because before it was just, hey, remove 1 of your buffs, then I'll discard 2. I have no hand, so I just get to remove a buff. You should have to pay for it. You should have to pay for it. Oh, really? They don't exist to non-aggressive elements. Good to know. Blast Spot is down for 3 damage, exactly where it should have been the entire time. People are still going to run Blast Spot. People are still going to love Blast Spot solely because the location family is so spread out and so supportive that removing locations is just good. It's just good. This now reads, in most cases, Reckless Spirit. That's what it is. It's a Reckless Spirit. Because 9 times out of 10, you're going to find a location buff to remove with Blast Spot. It's so good. I'm okay with that change. When you play a burn card, deal 1 damage to your target. I think this one was... Oh god, what was Makia? Was Makia... Oh, the card reveals are up? Awesome. We'll have to change over to that as soon as I'm done talking about this card. Was this one... Because it was... Or did her health just change? Is that what it is? It used to not be increasable. Okay. Well, then, yeah, this one's good. If you can increase something, that's amazing. Another minor change, that's all it was. All right, on to the card reveals. Overheating Charfiend. 4 damage, remove 1 robot buff from the recipient. I'm okay with this being a 3 damage. Like I said, I'm A-okay with it being a 3 damage. It's a fire. It's an elemental. I'm okay with all these family-specific ones being more like Reckless Spirit. It's 4 damage. Okay. Yeah, I don't know why they're increasing a lot of this to 4 damage. These should be the subpar cards. That are like 3 damage with a conditional increase of controlling the board. Yeah, I love the art. He's ripping that robot apart. There's nuts and bolts flying everywhere. And that's where I'm like, okay. The average card of it is 2.5. This should be just 3 damage, remove 1 specific family buff. I'd be okay with that. But now that it's 4 damage, depending on what Flame Bat is and all that other stuff, this is just a solid attack card. And it's going to fit really well into the attack aggro style. It's an elemental, so you get to search for it and do all that stuff. Like, there's so many benefits to it that I don't know why they're doing 4 damage on these types of cards when you could search for elementals and all this stuff. No, not buff Blast Spot. Decrease all the other ones. Make them all 3. Don't buff Blast Spot again. No. Make all the suboptimal buff removal 3 damage. It's 3 damage. It's a fine attack stat with the conditional increase. That's what I want to see. Because then you're not always including them, because the base attack was 5. And now you're just doing 1 less with a conditional increase to remove a buff? Like, I'll deal 4 damage all the time. That's fine with me. But I would have to look at their numbers and see why they chose to do some of this stuff. A lot of their buff removals, in my opinion, like I said, should just be 3 damage, remove a specific family buff. That's what it should be. Or, I mean, High Flusher is 4 healing. I'm not sure if the healing should always be more than the damage. I would be fine with 3 healing and remove an insect. I'd be fine with it always being 3, plus a remove 1 of a conditional increase. I'd be okay with that. Because it's a card for a card, if you think about it. and then damage on top of it. So that's my 2 cents. We'll see how it actually comes out. If it balances out and it's 4 damage is fine, then fine. I just feel like putting 4 damage on attack cards, unless your base stat for the cards, like for Flame Bat and Spark Wisp and all the generic ones, go up. I haven't looked and see if they did or not. There's really no point in running this over, like, Flame Bat. Yeah, that's where I'm coming from. But yeah, like I said, I could be completely wrong. I could be the one that's saying no, this is terrible, keep it at 4. I could. Nemi has access to Exterminator and Hive Flesher. Know your place, Nature. Yeah, right? Nature keeps getting better each reveal. Oh, there's Nature in this too. Okay, no spoilers because I haven't looked at them, obviously. Stalactite Farm. When one of your 4-corner buffs expires, draw 1 card and heal for 2. That's really good. It's a much more defensive one. On your 4-corner stuff, but like you get to draw a card when it expires. That's the big thing. Is that it draws you a card when they expire, which means that you spent the time getting that card out there, and now you get to draw a card. Prison Bite Scuttler, mind you, is a 4-corner buff, so it'll draw you 3 cards with this one out. Like it's I'd rather be playing Resourceful Sipid. True, but Resourceful Sipid, you have to line it up properly. You have to get the buffs next to it. This is just any of them. And it's for Mountain. It fits more Mountain's theme. Once again, it's another location, so it can really fit in the location styles. I don't know. I mean, it's a good card. I'm not saying it's bad. You're probably only going to run it in a specific 4-corner buff, which is where you get these really conditional cards to fit into certain archetypes, and you wouldn't play them in every deck. I'm fine with that. I think that's fine. Double fire combo. We're going to have an entire deck of 2 fire combos. Your damage to other heroes bypasses damage reducing effects and is increased by what? 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 Wow. Wow. You lay an attack and an elemental. And if you're playing an elemental aggro deck, wow. Yeah. Yeah, forget this 4-corner nonsense. This is... What? Just all damage. All damage gets bypasses damage reducing effects. And is increased by 2 once you get it active. Yeah, Zasha becomes an insane hero now. Her hero ability gets increased. What? And then when it's about to be removed, it just goes back to your hand. Like, what? This is so strong. With an attack and elemental, it's super easy to get off, too. Yeah. Conflagrant Aura is nuts. I mean, not that you needed any more mountain aggro. You already have Inferno, and you already have the 3 fire ones that deal 10 plus whatever you want to do. Like, this seems almost unnecessary. That's bonkers. That's so good. That is so good, guys. Web Spitter. 4 damage. If the recipient has 7 or more cards in their hand, they discard 1 card. It's another 4 damage attack from an insect. we're seeing a baseline of a lot of these insects only doing 4 damage, and then having a minor increase. I think Sipid Queen got changed, so it's not like preventative stall, but I like it. This is a lot better. This is a lot better than that Duskbloom Burrower that we got. That was 4 damage increased by 4 if your opponent's deck is empty. Because it's like, well, he's at empty deck check. I don't need to increase damage. I just need to wait him out. Web Spitter, yeah, it's good. They have 7 more cards. They go down to 6. I'm fine with it. I think it's a really strong card. Oh, is New Sipid Queen better? I didn't see what it... I'm not attuned to what it actually got changed to. But yeah, Web Spitter I like. I like Web Spitter a lot. It's another 4 damage insect attack card. We need more insect attacks because there's... Oh, word. There's the Leaf Spine, the Leaf Web Wanderer. That's whenever you lay an insect attack, you draw a card. So having more variance in insect attacks is just good. It's just really good. Temple Ruins. Select a family you have in play. Move action buffs of that family from your deck to play. Oh. See, now cards like this make me think that they're somewhat going with an active mill, or in a sense like a really quick way to empty your deck extremely fast by getting it all on the board before your opponent can react. Because with Temple Ruins, you move insect buffs from your deck to play. Just put them out. 2 of them. This is really good. Forest into an attack, into select a family you have in play, most likely insects or beasts for nature, whatever you want to do with soul, and then move 2 action buffs from your family from your deck into play. And it's soul. This could be run in the new Mythic Hero that we just got. So once you... Well, I guess you can't lay a forest. So you can't do that. But yeah, Temple Ruins is a really good card. I think this is going to be... It puts them into play. And it could be... from what I understand, it can move the same one into play twice. You can move 2 Temple Runes into play? Yeah, you could. You very well could. It's a location buff, and you have a location buff in play. Yeah, it can't be in Fairpang or the Sun or the new one we got, because it requires forests. But yeah, you could Temple Ruins, next turn, forest buff attack into 2 more Temple Ruins, into next turn forest buff and attack, into 4 buffs if you had the hand. It can be with Midnight Raiders. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fun things you can do with this. But yeah, Temple Ruins, the way they're going with nature, I don't think the, your opponent, based on what your opponent stuff, I almost want to say this new, get yourself to empty deck really quick could be a lot of fun with nature. This Temple Ruins gives me hope that we could be leading into that sort of type. Because, I mean, even if they do kill all your other buffs, this is still a family on it. That's nuts. No, it's not an artifact. It's a location. Which means you can search for... I mean, I don't understand why Temple Ruins has a family. I mean, it is a temple, it's a location. But it literally allows it to search for itself. Unless it says select a family from another buff you have in play. Otherwise, Temple Ruins is just going to search for Temple Ruins. You can blast bot yourself and remove it. There you go. There you go. But yeah, this gives me a lot of hope for that whole, I'm going to mill myself out really quick. Not with milling, but with getting my entire deck into play without me playing it type of style. I think this could be a lot of fun, and I cannot wait to try this out. I really can. And then Frenzied Infestation. Remove 1 buff from the recipient. Move your last 2 discarded insectoid buffs into play. Self-mill. What am I telling you guys? Self-mill. Put your discard insects into play. right from the discard pile. I'm going to make self-mill a thing. I'm going to make insect self-mill a thing. And it's going to be great. And you're all going to be like, how is he doing this? He's the craziest man in the world. He's the best player in the world. And I'm like, yeah, I am. Oh, Frenzied Infestation is a great card for a certain playstyle. My playstyle. Nature has another card that puts 3... Yeah, Jovi, we already talked about that. The Soul of the Forest. Yeah. Puts 3 buffs into play. I'm going to empty my deck so fast. My deck is going to go to 0 deck check so fast. It's going to be amazing. It's probably going to be one of the first ones I build. I really want to build aggro mill off of Astral. But dude, this self-mill nature archetype, I want to build this so fast. So is this the buff removal nature got that Benny was talking about? Probably. You can put up to 5 buffs into play. Yeah, right? Oh, man. Dude, I cannot wait. I cannot wait for my self-mill nature, which they're somewhat doing, but they're like, no. You're just going to put your entire deck on the board and go from there. And I'm like, yeah, I am. Oh, yeah. And then we have a new hero. Rosia Snare Root. Ability to reveal the top card of your target's deck. If that card is a defend card, discard it. Otherwise, deal 2 damage to them and move it to the bottom of the deck or put it back. That's actually really interesting. Duskbloom Burrower is now any hero's deck is empty. Benny, I love you. Oh, dude, I want a self-mill archetype for insects. And that Frenzied Infestation is exactly the right route I want it to go in. Where you get to bring your insects back from the discard pile, so you like mill it to get in there. Your deck is empty, and then you just play your cards from your discard pile. You have that empty deck check that you want, and then you're able to play insects from your discard pile in such a way, like either bring them back or do things with them or whatever you want to do. Kind of how Undead works. But Undead is always like, play them, have them go to the discard pile, then bring them back. I want to like just mill myself out and utilize the empty deck check with my discard pile. I think that would be awesome. But this is so good. To just literally put your entire deck, just flip it over and spread it out on the board like a deck of cards. It's like, I put all these into play, my deck is empty, bring all my stuff back from my discard pile, and just really work that insect angle. I think that'd be awesome. So yeah, now that Duskblade Burrower, if any hero's deck is empty, that's so good. But yeah, if it's defend, discard it. Otherwise, you can put it to the bottom and deal 2. This is a really good hero. Superior in Forest means she is going to be a little more of a staller. I'm almost going to want to try and find someone who's superior in Soul. For how much ridiculous things you can do with Soul now, like Temple Ruin, Soul of the Forest. Because if you're playing all your Soul cards to move your buffs into play, the cards you want to play are Soul. They're no longer like Animal or whatever. I think that would be a great way. But Rosaria's Snare Root, I think is just really cool. I like this hero design. Because if anything, you at least get to look at the top card of the deck and manipulate your opponent. And then if it's a defend card, you get to discard it. That's just really good. I like this hero a lot. I really do. I'll have to test her out. See if there's anything really viable for it. But yeah, knowing what your opponent's top card is, or being able to change it, is really strong. It's really strong. But yeah, I'm super excited for a lot of Temple Ruins and Frenzied Infestation. Mwah. Love them so much to death. They're gonna go right into my insect theme deck, and it's gonna be the best thing in the world, and I cannot wait to try it. Web Spitter. I mean, if we ever do get into the discarding effects of nature, obviously this one will mill them. Web Spitter will mill them. There's the other insect that you and your opponent mill cards. There's a lot of things that aren't feeling in the mill archetype. I'm loving nature more and more. I am a nature boy at heart. But I do love the aggro mill that Astral has. I love that to death. But these cards, as I was saying before, wasn't that interested the way nature was going. Those 2 cards today literally gave me hope for the future of what I wanted nature to fully come in. Because it's like, yeah, how nature, thematically, nature, you know, they grow from the ashes of what was dead. They really utilize the soil, the dirt of the discard pile, and they rise up. It's nature. It's trees, man. It's trees. The insects feed off the flesh of the dead. Thematically, it feels so good. But I love it. I love it to death. These 2 cards alone gave me so much hope for the future. Stalactite Farm, like, it's not forgettable. It's just one of those, like, it depends on how the 4-corner playstyle works. Is it worth running that over just another 4-corner buff that's going to get damage increased or something like that? But yeah, this is one that I'm still like, all the family removal, I am okay being set at 3 damage removal buff. It's a card for a card with 3 damage tacked on top of it. A-okay with that. Doesn't matter to me. Have them all be Reckless Spirits. You don't need to increase the damage to 4. But then again, I could be wrong. I feel like it's too powerful not to run, as opposed to being one of those, hey, I could run this, or I could run something that does 4 or 5 damage and risk my opponent running a robot buff and I just can't remove it. Or if you're playing more control, you run this. We'll see. We'll see how it all comes out. But yeah, I'm okay with all those being 3 damage, remove 1, being a Reckless Spirit pseudo, and then you run them in if you want to be really control-y, and if you want to be more aggro, you run something else that's 4 or more damage. Sometimes robot buffs deal damage to you. It's true. It's true. If it was changed to last corner, do you have any idea how powerful buffs would be if there are just 2 corners? I no, that's way too much tempo, I think. That it needs to be the 4 corners. There's a lot of ways to spin your buffs forward. You can splash into time and really get them going. There's a lot of things that you can do with 4 corners. And as I said before, now that buff removal has been limited and restricted to only 3 cards and then conditional other ones, that your buffs are going to stick on board a lot more than you think. Your buffs are going to stick on board a lot more than you think. Oh yeah, Crystalline Oscillator. Yeah. Cards like Nomad are just 1+ damage, Stockjaw, but more situational and doesn't work on anything. I mean, they're not supposed to be played in every deck. They're supposed to be played in a sub-archetype. And if the sub-archetype is last corners, then you're going to throw any buff you can in there. I think narrowing the archetypes are going to widen different deck varieties, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. You have that one Volcano that's technically a 4-corner buff that you can spin on 1 turn. There's a lot of things you can do with 4-corner buffs. And if anything, getting a major damage increase on all this stuff for waiting 4 turns after you lay it is what you should do. You should put your buffs down and have it be a huge hit if your opponent can't do anything in 3 turns. There shouldn't be as much, hey, I deal 26 damage in 1 turn to you, game over, good job. You should be able to interact with your opponent. Which was a huge beef of why I didn't like buffless aggro, is because there was no player-to-player interaction. There was nothing about that. I'm not a huge fan of decks that do 26 damage in a turn out of nowhere. Because I really felt like, hey, we didn't interact at all. You dumped your cards and I died, and I wasn't able to do anything about it. That's kind of where I stand on those. I'm much more of a player who does like, Hey, I put this buff down. Oh, hey, I put this to counter that. Oh, I'll put this buff out to counter that. And I'll remove that buff. And you actually interact with your opponent. That's what I feel are really good games. And you lead up to a huge swing finish. But, yeah, if you just put a card down and you're like, okay, cool, 26 damage, you're dead. It's like, well, I didn't get to do anything. It's like, I know, but I won, so good game. Like, well, what? I don't know. What? I want to actually sit down and play with my cards and watch my opponent kill me while I did nothing. That isn't fun. That's not fun for me. All right, back to the card changes that we're getting. Fiscus Key is no longer an item. Defendability, rotate one of your action buffs one step forward to draw a card, damage your target. I'm a little upset that we no longer have unaligned items. I'm a little upset by that. I feel like this could have just been a new card. This was changed so much. I feel like it could have just been a new card. Yeah, let's play chess with 19 queens and 1 king. That seems fair, right? But, I mean, Fiscus Key, it's okay. I mean, it fits really well into the line. I would have just rather had this have been a new card and kept Fiscus Key. Have an unaligned item. And just have this be more of like, I don't know, Fiscus Gate or whatever the key actually goes to. I don't know. But I like it. I think it's a well-designed card. 3 damage, rotate about 4, draw a card, can go in anywhere without having to splash an item. Yeah, I would have just liked it to have been a new card as opposed to change Fiscus Key to this. Because I thought Fiscus Key was fine the way it was. Fiscus Key, I was really happy with the card when it first came out. Because it was a way to interact with your opponent and yourself without going into another color. Anyone could use it. And now it's just only you, and it deals 3 damage. Maybe they don't want unaligned items because it doesn't help cross order at all. Well, that's the thing. All it was an ability, then it went back to your deck and you had to find it again. It was one of those things. It didn't need to help cross order. It just needed to have a fun ability you used. Then it went away. Then you found it again and you got to use it again. And then it went away. Like, thematically, it was pretty interesting. Use the key once. You drop it down a drain pipe because you're drunk. And then you find it later on. And you're like, oh, okay, I can use it again. And then it goes away. And it keeps coming back. I thought it was pretty cool. Time Jumper Rylox. When you play a Lightning and Time card in the same turn, you may return one of your own action buffs. This can only trigger once per turn. Now that we have access to Hammer Down Enforcer, I think that's a much needed change. I think Time Jumper Rylox had way too much control. That I think that's a much better change for Hit. Wait till you see the new Flynamo. Forget about Fiscus. Oh, man. I remember the old Flynamo. Jax. Remove one of your explosive buffs to deal 3 damage to another hero. This can't be increased by effects. Once again, if Jax was not part of the rotation, I would use him immediately in a self-sacrifice deck. This guy would be so good. He has an ability that just removes your... It has to be an explosive buff, but just remove your buffs. Eternal Dawn. 1 damage to your target. Increases by 3 flashcard color. Can't be removed if your last card is Gravity. This was 2 damage at the start of your turn, wasn't it? Not just 1. Because I remember it wasn't dealing like 5 damage if you had Solar on top. Because the last part, not being able to remove your last card is Gravity. I do remember that. That was there. It was changed because of Archie. Oh, if it was Lunar, don't remove. I thought it was Gravity. But is it really Lunar? It was changed because you could have Eternal Dawn out and Archie would make it so it can't be removed, or yeah, it would just be too insane. Okay, that makes way more sense. It was changed because of Archie to be that way, so that Archie just didn't put Eternal Dawn down and had an untouchable buff that did 4 damage. Okay, that makes way more sense. Thank you for filling me in on that. I was like, this one doesn't seem like it changed, but it did because of Archie. Otherwise, it would have just busted. Flame Chained Elder. When you play an elemental card, all your other cards deal more damage that turn. Did this get its corners changed? Was it like 3/3/4? Did the corner get changed by 1? I still think this is a nuts power increase. Oh, it increased its healing too. That's right. Yeah. I mean, damage on this. All I'm thinking right now is splashing fire into Abyss and running this in the Abyss package. That's all I'm thinking about right now with Flame Chained Elder. Now that it doesn't only restrict you to fire cards and it's elemental. Okay, I'll play an Abyss Tentacle. Oh, cool. I get 2 additional actions. And it's just... I mean, we were seeing Fatal Zeph splash into... splash into wind to get the Vortex Planes. With this in Geode. Oh, okay. Yeah, I can see that. I can definitely see that. But yeah, Flame Chain, it's going to be nuts. The Abyss package is going to go everywhere. Pathfinder, remove 2 buffs from your... I think this one actually just recently got changed too. You got to move a card from your hand back to your deck to increase it by 2. Which is a much better change. I think that's a much better change. Because there's a lot of cards in your deck that you get benefits from drawing. Like the Chimchi that we got. There's the Archaeologist that we got. There's a lot of cool things that you get benefits to from drawing and revealing. That the Pathfinder changing to that, I think, is a great change. I think that's a great change for Pathfinder. Agreeable Gesture. 8 or more cards down to 7. Or until they have discarded 2 additional cards. So it's either they discard 3 cards or they discard down to 7. Not like discard from 15 down to 7. That's okay. That's a good change on that one, I think. The new Flynamo. What? Yeah, the Pathfinder got changed. It does include 1 damage, though. That's interesting. The new Flynamo gets to move 2 action buffs 1 step forward. What? Like, I know Flynamo got destroyed with its first errata. Because it also gave you an additional action, which was nuts. But moving 2 action buffs 1 step forward, that's really good. That's really good. Power Hoarders say hi. Right? You're going to put Flynamo in the 4 corner buff for sure now. Yeah. Flynamo is going to be putting him out just for Flynamo. You don't need to run time. Oh, that's so good. That is so good. Because then, hey, guess what? You can expire your corners that are on their 4th corner and rotate another one to the 4th corner. Get really good things going off of that. Flynamo got a major buff. Now they can manipulate 2 buffs at a time. Yokona Oracle. Reduce damage received by if this expires, gain 1 additional action. So it's not empty on the 1st corner. I like it. I like this a lot. So each damage prevention probably is now 2/2/2 with a conditional increase on it of some way. Yeah, Yokona Oracle, I think this is a much needed change. It's great. Doesn't prevent too much damage, but gives you something after it goes away. I think it's awesome. I used to slap that in Wrathstride. Now it's even better. Oh, I played Wrathstride with that too. That's amazing. It can rotate artifacts. Yeah. Yes, it can. That. Wow. Did not even think about that. Yeah, it can rotate your artifacts. They might need to change the way that works then. That artifacts with those symbols, you can't rotate them past unless the condition is met. Because otherwise, like, what's the point? You can just run Flynamo on any of your artifact decks and get it to the last corner. Yeah, that seems like a little too much. But hey, 4 healing increases by 2 if your last card is a buff. Dusk Feeder got reduced and condition changed. This now also heals for 6 instead of 7. 2/2/2. Tarix Fixer heals for 3 or heals for 7, but you have to be at 10 or less, which I think is great. I think being at 10 or less for the Fixer is a much needed change. Being at 15 was just way too conditional, way too easy to pull off, and way too difficult to deal with. Thunder Slug went from 1 to 2 to now 1 to 1. Meh. I mean, it's fine. It's a beast. You can rotate it forward with a lot of manipulation. There's just, like I said, the thing that'll really help is adding in more buff removal choices to run in your deck so that we're not limited to always including 3 Thunder Slugs or always included 3 Reckless Spirits. Is give us variance on how buff removal is. I think that'll be a much needed change for the future. Or addition, not a change. Addition. Attack ability. Damage. Oh, okay, so 4 damage. Move 1 equipped item from your target to their deck. Or defend ability. Healing. Move 1 equipped. Oh! So Weapon Master not only got a number increase, but it can be an attack or defend now, as opposed to just a defend. That's nice. That's really nice. I think Weapon Master is going to see probably quite a bit more play. Especially since it can do stuff with superior items. But yeah, now that it's just an 8 damaging buff, I think Weapon Master is going to see a lot of play now. I'd rather use Weapon Master than Fixer now. Maybe. I mean, that's your choice. And that all depends on how your deck is run. Mind you, Fixer is still a defend that you can look with for Time Shifter and play it at certain times. Weapon Master, you have to play it and then wait a turn before you can even do anything with it. So there's ups and downs. But yeah, I think Weapon Master is going to be seeing a lot of play now that it can go offensive along with being defensive too. And not just like, why did I pull a Weapon Master and not a Blacksmith? This is terrible. So I do like the change to that. I think it's a very nice change. Spirit Tap, reduce the cost of your combo buffs by 2. Increase damage done by your other heroes by combos by 2. Finally. Spirit Tap, in my opinion, right next to Tsunami, was one of those combo buffs that you're like, why does this card even exist? It only means that you're running combo buffs and playing it. Only reduces their cost by 2. It does nothing else. It was just a dead buff out there. Now, not only does it reduce their cost, but it increases their damage. That is such a much better card for Spirit Tap. That is so nice. Spirit Tap is actually going to see some viable play now. Now that it can literally decrease combo costs and increase the damage by 2. It's still weak because it's not impactful right away. But if you're playing a more long and controlled game, I think Spirit Tap is going to be really nice. Because you're already playing your combo buffs. And if you're playing 4 corner combo buffs, that means that each of your combos essentially gets increased damage by 8. Only works with Venom Veins and Carnage and Ghost Warp. Well, now you're thinking about just the hero. For all we know, we could be getting another Tech Dread hero. We got another Mountain Dread hero. We could be getting a second one of those. Also, Carnage lets you put an item from your deck on top of your deck. So you can draw it. So Carnage can splash into other alignments. And then, guess what? Animal buffs now cost 2 less. Okay, I'll go ahead and put, what is it? Spirit of the Water. What's the animal buff that's just 2 and then has an attack ability of 7/7/7? That one you can play for free. And now becomes 9/9/9. You could run... I'd have to look. Beast Control. Yeah, thank you. Poisonous Miss as well. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things that you can do by simply reducing the combo cost by 2. No. Reducing all combos by 2, that's too good. That's way too good. Not even Storm has anything like that. I'm fine with it being combo buffs and then having your combos be increased or damage increased by 2. You still increase your damage from combo attacks by 2 and all that other stuff. It's not combo buffs. The damage is still increased by 2. But if you want to lay a combo buff, that gets decreased by 2. I don't think it needs to have that much power. You could run Core and Tome and play Echoes without any of the other cards. Yeah. Yeah, you could. Yeah, you could. I mean, there's so much potential. And I'm fine with the limitation on combo buffs. The damage increase to all combos is fine. But it really means that if you want to play this, you're going to play combo buffs. If it was to all combos, this would almost be an auto-include in every color that was these two. But now that you're only playing combo buffs, it limits it to how narrow it fits into certain decks. It's not an auto-include in every deck. Like Inferno, like Shattering Blast. Like all those things are auto-includes because they're just generically that good. This one fits a niche, which works really well in certain decks, and is not good everywhere else. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with those combos. Because we shouldn't have the same 6-7 decks run the same 5 combos, and the only thing that changes is their action cards. You shouldn't have that. That limits deck building to me. Gear Crank Catapult. If you have 2 or more mechanical buffs in play, he counts as mechanical, so that's a great change. I think getting 3 on him was a little too difficult. But then, yeah, getting it to 8, as long as you have that card and one other mechanical buff in play. Awesome. Awesome to see that. Undying. Move all combo cards from discard pile to your deck. Take 2 damage. You can only reuse once per game. That's a great change. That's a great change, so you're not just constantly bringing your combos back. Only once per game. Great change to the Undying. Battleborn Oppressor got a damage increase. I like it. I like it. See, this is the thing. It's like a buff removal type of thing. 3 damage. Remove an item. As long as it's not superior. It has to meet a specific condition. This is why all things like this, like the family buff removal, should just be 3 damage. Remove a specific card if it's met. It does not need to be 4 damage. 4 damage makes it too generically good to just say, why wouldn't I run this? And it's because it's like, well, what if you don't run into robots? Wouldn't you rather run a better card if you don't run into robots? And you're like, well, yeah, but it's 4 damage, and 4 damage is just really good. So why wouldn't I run it? An item is better than a family buff, though? Some cases. What if you're going against a player who's not running items? Then it's just 3 damage. I mean, you could easily just run Weapon Master then. Have Weapon Master in your deck. There's a lot of things, and that's the great discussion about this. Is you're like, well, why wouldn't you just run this? Well, why wouldn't you just run this? And it all depends on the deck, and it all depends on the archetypes that you're going against it. There shouldn't be one card that be-all, ends-all. There shouldn't be one card that's just better in all ways than this one. Why would you run that over this? If every card was 3 damage, and you're like, well, yeah. And you're like, well, Battleborn Oppressor items are better than some family buffs. Well, yeah, it's true. But what if they're not running an item? That's the thing. Well, if they're not running an item, then this is bad. And then you look at the other ones, like, well, if they're not running this type of family buff, is it good? And that's where the 3 damage comes from. Because if you look at it, it literally just says 3 damage. And it's only good, it's only a good card. It's only a good tech card in a technical play of like playing around someone's deck if they're also running that card that it's good against. If not, the card should, in my opinion, be subpar. And you should consider replacing it with a card that makes it better if you don't care too much about that card. 2 makes Oppressor a side deck card. Yeah. 3 damage makes it... Well, there is no real side deck unless you're playing a physical tournament. Without it... Yeah, exactly. 3 makes it a subpar. 3 damage is fine. If you want to play tech around it, that's fine. But if you're playing against someone who's playing all robots and there's no item, then you're like, oh man, I really wish this was the 3 damage remove a robot family. If not, if they're not playing anything, like, oh man, I wish this card was a 5 damage card or even a 4 damage card. It would do more. I don't need a card that does 4 damage along with a removal, along with a tech option to it, to compete with other good quality action cards that are already at 4 damage and be like, well, why would I run that one over this one if this one helps me control the board and does the same amount of damage? That's where I'm coming from. No more physical, so no more side decks. Cards needed to change. Yeah, exactly. Unless they go into something where they bring it back, then yeah, side cards needed to change to be more viable just running plain. They said it could be changed to 9. You may discard 1 solar card to discard the top 2 cards from the recipient's deck and 1 from their hand. That is so good. That isn't, yeah, that can go down to 9 and I would still run that. Why is that 10? Why is that 10? A lot of the other buffs we've been seeing that are cost for 3 and have something good, like Piston Punch and all that stuff, is either 8 or 9. Why does Solar Wind get to be 10? I'm okay with that going down to 9 if it means I get to essentially ruined 3 cards from my opponent. That thing could be 7 or 6. That is so good. Once again, gravity. Yeah, which is why the Astral aggressive mill is probably better than an Onyx mill, in all honesty, because of just the combos that it has access to. And of all the things that gravity's now getting. Yeah. OFC, good afternoon, sir. But Solar Wind is so good. I would be okay with a little damage decrease, because that means this card is not always going to be included as just a 10 damage card. Or like Planetary Alignment is always a 12 damage card. This does not need to compete with that. This needs to compete with, hey, this card is good, but it's extremely good in active mill. Otherwise, I should run something else. This is where you get conditional increases to change up the combo pile so it's not the same 5 combos in all decks. So yeah, decrease the damage on this and it would still be running my aggressive mill because it mills them for 3. So good. Onyx is almost worthless. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that one bit. I mean, it all depends on what we're getting for Crystal as well. Crystal, there's probably some really good stuff. As we already seen, there's the Crystallizer to move stuff back. Onyx does its own thing. Whenever they mill, they take 2. That's really good. Astral is just, hey, I'm going to mill you and not deal damage, while Onyx is still dealing damage while milling. It replaces the gravity for increased damage. So there's give and take, but I wouldn't say he's worthless. I wouldn't say he's worthless. He does need more. He does need better combos to go along with him. He does need better combos. Because his combo pool is lacking drastically. Yeah, his combo pool needs to be upgraded in some way, shape, or form. He really does. Because I think there's only 6 combos that are viable with him, like able to be played, and a lot of them are just like, well, I gotta have a combo in there, so I might as well dump it in. The Eternal Dawn doesn't really work with Onyx, but you put it in because it's one of the ones that are viable. So I do think that his combo pools, along with a lot of the other mythics, their combo pools need to be increased. Oh, this Ancient is out of date? Is the other one further down? What's the new Ancient one look like? Move 5 cards to the discard pile to move 1 buff on the target to their deck. Oh, okay. So it doesn't remove it. It puts it back into the deck. Okay. Okay. Combos are Gemra fodder for Onyx. I mean, that's how I played my mill Ancient deck before. It was all the combos were included water, and they were Gemra fodder. If you have a water off in play, heal yourself for 3. Conditional increase. 3 damage, awesome. Has a way to be better. I'm okay with every card having a 3 damage with a major conditional increase to have the card be better, and for the reason to put it in the deck. I would love to hear the reason why some cards are 4 damage and some cards are 3 damage. I would love to hear that. I would love for that actually to be developer insight, is how they determine the value of some cards over others based on like damage or healing or whatever you do for conditional increases. I would love a developer insight on that. I think that would be a great read. Asavak finally became better. Her ability was just, why would you use the ability? When you play a combo, move 2 cards stored under this card to your hand. Ability, store up to 2 action cards from your discard pile to your hero. That is so good. That is so much better than trying to flip-flop and waste like 5 turns to get 1 card back in your hand while sacrificing cards to do it. This is, okay, 2 cards, go into there, play a combo, I get those 2 cards back. Next turn ability, store 2 cards, I'll wait till a combo. Like, that is just so much better. That is so much better for Asavak. She's actually going to be playable now. Crystal Maze, draw a card. No, her ability was way too slow. I remember building an Asavak deck with a Shrine of Death combos with like mage ships and stuff, and I never used her ability. Every time I did, I slowed her playstyle down so much it was ridiculous. Now that ability feels fine. Feels A-okay. Yeah. You don't know where Death fits? TS, I'll show you where Death fits. Shrine of Death. Graveyard. You get a bunch of things. Like, being able to have Graveyard and Shambler and Bone Spirits, just keep bringing those things back. Like, she's superior in Death. And in Shadow. Like, there's a lot of things you can do with those 3 alignments that I've already proven is good. Shrine of Death Mage Ship is alright. Yeah. Before I used Battle Priestess, but now Battle Priestess I know has changed. But yeah, Shrine of Death Mage Ship is good. You have the those swoop tails that are essentially 4 damage with her as well, as long as something's on top. Like there's a lot of things to do with her, with Death and Shadow. And now we're getting an entire new card pool for her as well. So not Shadow, you mean Solar. Solar, Death, and Shadow. I don't know what I was saying. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of potential for her. And a double superior makes her just insanely good too. So this one is up for change, Mud Turtle says. Well, it's on top of your discard pile. When you play a crystal card, discard the top card of your target's deck. Okay. Yeah. Solar Death Gravity? She's not Gravity. Or is that what you're saying you want her to do? You want her to be Solar Death Gravity. Because she's Solar Death Shadow. Did she get changed again? Is this not... Did they change her to give her gravity? Is this not the current card? There's so much talk about this. Because no, she was never No, wait. Wait a second. Was she Gravity? No, she was, because I did Pathfinders. She was Gravity. Now she's Shadow. She was Gravity because I had Pathfinders in that deck. She was Gravity. Now she's Shadow. Yeah, because Battle Priestess was a Gravity card. Yeah, now she's Shadow. Now she's Shadow. So she got her alignments changed as well. Yeah. Did no one notice that? I didn't even notice it. But yeah, she was Gravity. Now she's Shadow. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Oh, man. That means you can bring back your tentacles as much as you want. Oh, man. I don't think that change was needed, but okay. I would have been fine keeping her Gravity in all honesty. Well, guys, this is what you get when you're talking to me. Is I say things like, "Wait, was that right?" Wow, yeah, okay. She's even better of a hero than I thought. I honestly would have been fine with Gravity. I think there's a lot of fun things you could have done with Gravity in her. But changing her to Shadow just means she's more of a Dread hero. And I would have loved to have her be Solar Death Gravity. I would have loved that. I don't know why they changed her like that. I don't know why I changed my girl. Moon, you don't draw a card after playing a combo. He's now solar superior. He was just lunar. That's the change. Man, everyone's looking at Shadow being better than Gravity. You take your stuff elsewhere, man. I love my Gravity. Orion. Increased damage done by solar buffs on their final corner by 1. He's no longer when they're expire take 2. But is the final corner, so he works with Mateship on 3 and all the other things on 2. There's the one solar buff, which is 3 damage millicard, which is now becomes 4 damage millicard with him. So not bad, not bad. I was hoping to do some Sunstrike alignment Asavok shenanigans. Right? I remember using Sunstrike. It's like that was nuts. It was good. Oh, was it heal for 2 when they expire? I thought it was the deal 2. Oh no, I'm thinking of Kiwi Sunfist. When they're removed, you deal 2. That's right. Orion just healed for 2. You are right. Solar Wind Reality Rift. There's a lot of things you could have done with her with Gravity, right? So much. Yeah, Sunstrike, Solar Wind, Reality Rift. I want to say that there's another Solar Gravity as well. But Mirror Beast is now 4 damage that can be moved to your deck. That one I'm okay with. That one I'm okay with. With being 4 damage. Because it doesn't impact your opponent's board. It strictly impacts your board. So being 4 damage without having a counterplay to your opponent, I'm okay with it being 4 damage that way. I'm okay with it being 4 damage as it does not interact with your opponent. It's something you line up and you get a better benefit yourself. It's not a swing. No Mirror Beast for Asavok. Yeah. Sad to say. But yeah, you can use Tusker, and you can use Shadow Puppet, or Puppet Master with Asavok now, without having to splash in anywhere. Just think about that. With Tentacles, just think about that. Yeah. Can everyone follow me and think about that play path? Oh, Asavok just got broken. Muddy Brew. Deal damage to another hero equal to the number of poison buffs you have in play plus 3. This can only be used once per game. I want to say the plus 3 was added. Was he like plus 1 or plus 2 before? What changed with Muddy Brew? Yeah, the plus 3 was added to Muddy Brew. He didn't have an additional increase. Yep. So, which is awesome. I love the increase because Muddy Brew before was not that impactful. So I think at least to make it 3 was awesome to do. Is this interest play? Draw a card. Your cards can't be discarded. So Drago Hoarder got an upgrade. It now draws you a card when you lay it at least. That's awesome. Poisonous Mist. I want to say the corner's got an upgrade. Yep. Before it was 3-3-2-2. Now it's 3-3-3-3. Now might be a more viable buff to lay. Venom Master Muddy looking not bad. Right? Poison Mist is good. Death Hunter Adriak can now go up to 4. But yeah, as I do believe when this came out, Mud Turtle made the comment that his ability wasn't lackluster. It was his card pool. Because all the animal buffs you really wanted to maintain and keep on the board, you didn't want them to expire, which went against nature entirely. So giving him faster animal buffs to expire quicker would make him better. But yeah, his ability is not what made him slow. It was his card pool that didn't make him, is what Mud Turtle was saying before. Wrangler, welcome back. What about the cards you try to discard for free effect? I'm not sure if it would work that way. I'm not sure if it's, hey, did a card get discarded? If not, then you can't. I I'm not sure. Duskblade Tome. It might work with the same, like, the drawbacks. Where, like, hey, you have to discard a card, but you can't, so you don't get the drawback. You have a card that prevented the drawback. But I think the drawbacks for conditional increases, I think it does stop that. Because it will look for you to discard those cards before anything happens. 1 healing if you have 15 or less health, draw 1 card. So Tome really didn't change. No, actually, Tome got worse. It is now just 1 healing, but then if you're below on health, you draw a card. Which is A-okay. Tome was one of the most commonly used items simply for the draw card effect. Now it's the healing effect that's constant, and if you're low on health, you get to draw a card. So it's not always card draw. Tome, I think, got a much-needed change. Yeah, Tome, I like the change. Tome did not need to be draw a card every turn. We did not need to have an item that did that. Yeah. It's worse, but it's worse for the better. It's worse for the better. Because it's not the be-all, end-all item you just add everywhere. Yeah. Because it was if you draw 1 and then if you're below 20, heal for 1. I am A-okay with that. I would even be A-okay with an item that says, you know, once it's equipped, has a defend ability, draw 1 card, shuffle this item, or shuffle this card back into your deck. Like, everyone played Tome. It was so good. Just because it kept drawing you cards. Draw 1 card face up, as opposed to just draw a card. I'm okay with that. Tempest has to be a time card moved to the bottom for you to draw 2. Fresh, I'm not saying it's a good one. I'm just saying, like, we could have that as an item for a draw card. What if it drew 2 cards, shuffle back in your deck? Equip it, defend ability, draw 2 cards, this shuffles back into your deck. That might be fine. It replaces itself with 2 other cards. It's like Tempest, but you have to find the card in order to do it. I'd be okay with that. Have an item. It could even be an unaligned item. Unaligned item. Equip, defend ability, shuffle this back into your deck, draw 2 cards. Or draw 2 cards, shuffle this back into your deck. Could do that. People would probably run that a lot over Barkeep. But yeah, I mean, doing that would limit your item space. You couldn't always just auto-include items. OFC says no. Hey man, I'm just spitballing here. I'm not saying it's a good or bad one. I'm just saying it's a different one. You could run it over Barkeeps. You could run it over other card draws. It's cyclical card draw. But you have to find it, equip it, and then do it. So there's a lot to it in order for it to work. But you could still do it. Still do it. Cassilia, when one of your beast buffs expires, deal 1 damage to your target. So much more viable than discard a card to heal for 4. So much more viable. Or draw 2. Yeah, you know, whatever. Whatever you want. When you take 5 or more damage from a single hit, rotate this 1 step forward. Reduce your combo costs by 3. Yeah. I like Rockwing now. I think Rockwing is fine. I'm trying to think what was Rockwing? Oh, yeah, okay. Rockwing was rotate it when your opponent plays a combo. And then your combos were increased or decreased by 2. This fits more in Storm. Well, that's the thing. TS, you have to keep this in mind. That having 1 card that would fit into Storm put into another alignment means that, hey, if you want to cross over, you can always add it in. Otherwise, there does need to be some bleed into other alignments. You can't always just have Storm only do this one thing really well, and then that's it. Having a little bit of mix between some orders is actually A-okay. Because that means if you want to go full on it, you could splash that in and run it in and have it be really good. I think Rockwing is fine. There are a lot of cards out there right now that deal 5 or more damage in a single hit. And then next turn it's like, hey, cool. Now I get to play a 4-cost combo for 1. Thanks for letting me do that. You ask why. My response is, depends on the deck. Depends on the deck. It's not going to be a card you see in every single Mountain deck. It depends on the deck. Maybe you just run it for the simple fact that it's an Earth buff that stays out there. You really want your Earth buffs. Or it's a Beast buff. Maybe that's the whole reason you run it. And you get a beneficial effect if it ever goes off. Maybe that's why you add it in. But it depends on the deck. This should not be a card you always run at least 1 or 2 of in a Mountain deck and go, this card is so good. No, you shouldn't do that. You should have a reason to run in your deck depending on your deck. And that's amazing. That's great to see. It got buffed because it was never run in the first place. Just because it got buffed doesn't mean it's always going to be run now. But now it's a little more viable to run. But are you always going to run it? I wouldn't say that. I would say it depends on the deck. And that's what a lot of the answers to these questions should be. It depends on the deck. Crystal Leech, you heal your target to remove 2. There's a lot of ways to get around this. Magmorum, makes it so they can't heal at all. So you just remove 2 for free. If we ever get a Poison and Crystal hybrid, you can... Wait a second. Oh, that's right. He did say that all the buff removal is going to be in core. I was like, wait a second. Does Mountain just not get buff removal anymore? This is only in set 2. Does it not get this? But, yeah, there's a lot of ways to prevent your opponent from healing in Mountain and just in general. So, Crystal Leech is fine. Skyrider, discard a card to deal 3. Once again, 3 damage. You don't need it to be 4. I like this change. It does not mean it's the best card in the world. But every card on average should be at least worth 3 damage. Which is why I once again pressure all the family-specific buff removal. Have them be 3 damage, remove a family buff. There's no reason for him to be 4. No reason at all. Otherwise, it's better than a subpar card, and it should be a card you only tech in if you really want to control or worry about those matchups. Having it be 4 damage means there's no reason not to run 3 because they're 4 damage. Skyrider isn't final. No. That's what it should be. Unless it's discard a card, deal 4 damage to yourself. Because Skyrider. Who didn't run Skyrider with an item? That was so good. Every card turned into 4 damage. All your healing turned into 4 damage. All your buff removal against Buffalo Aggro turned into 4 damage. So good. Selene, move 1 buff from your hand to the bottom to draw 2 cards. Awesome. Not just any card, has to be a buff now. Very specific way to play her. You can't just always go to her. I'm sure a lot of people are upset by that change. I'm not. Monster Ridge Defender. Reduce damage received by rotation at the start of your turn if you deal 2... if you have 2 or more buffs in play than your target, deal 1 damage to them. I like that. Fits really the theme. Zeph is unfazed. It's because Zeph has already found other ways to do it. Zeph is unfazed because Zeph is never phased by Selene. Selene will always be his heart, his soul. Yeah, but Monster Ridge Defender, if you have more buffs, really fits the theme. It becomes an insect swarm. It's pretty bad compared to the other removals. You mean the other defenders? Yeah. I mean, but it fits the theme of Forest. If you have 2 or more deal 2 damage, I think this would be an insane card. But I'm okay with it. It's not the best. No, it doesn't give you an additional action. Doesn't bring an undead card to your hand. It has potential of doing some ping damage that can be increased. It's not good. It's not bad. But having a card like this opens up for the room for different variants of this card to be made. You can make another wall and have it do something else. And then you would play that over this one. You would swap them out, interchangeable, make your deck a variant. That's why I'm okay with it. It's because, yeah, they look like they're not as good, but it means that in the future they can make other cards that are not, oh, this is always better than this one. It's, oh, it's comparable to this. I can swap them out and interchange them depending on what my deck needs. Just comparatively, yeah. I'm not saying it's like, no, it's better than getting initial action. No. It does its own thing, but it's not terrible. Then you have too much reduction. Well, like I said, that's where it comes down to the simple fact of it would lead into stall being a variant again. And I wouldn't say put restrictions or put restricted on your defense walls either. I wouldn't say that. I would just say put them in different sets. So the different core sets rotate out. So that if you want to defend, this is the defend card you get with this set. Rotate stuff out as they go through, and you can mix and match. I mean, there's several ways to do it. I'm not saying I'm gonna say the right answer right away. It comes with game testing, but I do not think that the Moss Ridge Defender should be the be-all, end-all of damage reduction for nature. There already is that other Moss Ridge with clunky corners defense-wise. Then casual stall is a problem. Well, then in casual, you can play whatever you want. And you can run damage reduction and just be bonkers in there. Love Overlook Defender. Yeah, Overlook Defender is really fun. I play that card a lot. Shadow Puppet. You may increase this by 1 if you do discard a card from the top 5 cards of your deck. So you actually get to choose which card you discard. That's really good. It's not just the top card. It's you actually get to look and see which card you want to remove. So it's not, hey, I killed a combo for one of your buffs. No, that's a much better change. Look at the top 5 and discard them. I do think you should have to shuffle your deck. Because then at least you know what the top 5 cards are. Maybe not. Maybe that's exactly what you want. Fits really well into Astral. If you splash Shadow Puppet into Astral. Could work really well. But I like it. And then Hive Queen Axie. Increased damage by 2. Ooh. That got a buff. That got a buff. Increased all damage done by 2 if they have 70 more cards in their hand. Not just 1. That's dangerous. Oh, that's dangerous. Oh, it is the first damage. I missed that part entirely. Thank you, Rocketstar. So yeah, Axie got nerfed. The damage is only increased by 2 for the first one. Oh. Does that mean that she's not leading into more of the insect buff archetype? That she's really the like the attacks from hands? Because having insect swarm deal an additional 2 doesn't matter. I don't know. I feel like that nerf does kind of set her back. She still wasn't even better than Hivebark in my opinion. I don't think she needed a nerf. I think she needed a buff. But yeah, it's definitely a nerf. I would say. Because if you have like 2 insect swarms, a Mantix hatchlings, and attack cards from insects, her ability would be increased it all by 1, which would essentially be like 6 or 7 damage. But she still wasn't even the best insect hero. Hivebark, in my opinion, was the best insect hero. I do think she was a nerf. An unnecessary nerf, in my opinion. Yeah, because unless the first damage is increased by 3, the first damage being increased by 2 doesn't matter all that much. It doesn't matter. especially with how much poking damage nature does. You really wanted things like Citadel Musician to rock their world, and having her be a pseudo-based built-in one was amazing. And it wasn't even that good. So I think this is a nerf that wasn't necessarily needed for her. If it was all damage, that would be crazy going. That'd be crazy strong. True. I mean, that's true. I just feel like there's no reason to run her over Hive King. If all you're getting is an initial 2, and it literally all depends on if your opponent has 7 or more cards. Like, all they got to do is lay cards, and then I guess you'd have to make them draw before you're able to do damage. It's just, it feels really clunky. And all your opponent has to do is lay cards against you, and there's nothing you could do. Which, actually, I think that Hive Queen Axie is going to be the hero, not an insect hero, but it's going to be the hero that runs the archetype of the, if your opponent does anything, this messes with them. That's where her new archetype is going to come in, and not from insects. It's going to come from all of those, if my opponent draws, do this. If my opponent has this many cards in hand, do this. I think that's where her new archetype is going to lean, and she's going to go slightly away from just a very heavy insect build. I think that could be what changes from her. You have Temple Ruins and Errated Egg Chamber. Who needs insects with Ix's abilities? To empty your deck extremely fast the way I want to with my insects? Better to have twice as much stuff than just those cards reliant. Right? If we want to get to empty deck check before your opponent gets to half deck, yes. I want as much stuff out of my deck as possible. TS, you don't understand how empty deck check works and how much you want to self-mill. You want to get your deck empty before your opponent draws 15 cards. And anything to do that is better. I am all about having a handful of 20 cards before my opponent reaches 10. I am all about that life. I mean, there's different opinions on this stuff. Axie is just the best insect hero? I mean, for that archetype. Hivebark is still a great one. I don't know if it's been changed or not, but I mean, I'm definitely going to build a Hive King Axie self-mill deck. I'm definitely going to do that. All the cards in your hand, right? Yes. You're sitting there like, why would you need more? I'm like, because I don't want to have a deck. I want everything in my hand. I don't care what you say. I want them all in my hand. Because they get so much better when I don't have a deck. Hivebark got a healthy buff. Interesting. We'll have to see what it got. Draw 1 card, increases by 1 if your enemy played a combo in the last turn. Nice. You may move 1 action buff from your hand into play, and if you do, heal your target for 1. So the only thing that happened is you heal your target for 1. The only thing that changed on this is you heal your target for 1. Okay. I mean, eh? It wasn't revealed, but I think it has like 1 extra point of health right now or something. Oh, on Hivebark? Oh, okay. Did Cage get changed again down to 1? That card is so... It's so up in the air. Sure, RG. Draw your whole deck. I will. Thank you very much, Mud Turtle. Now that Creeble Jester just changed to only discarding 3, watch me crushing charge you. Then I'll do it all over again, Mud. I'll do it all over again. You have to run 3 crushing charges to stop this one archetype. What are you going to do? Increased damage done by mechanical. So he got the change he needed. He is superior in mechanical. He got the change he desperately needed. That is so good. Right now, Cage is heal for 2 or more and only 1 clunky to 3 smooth. Okay. 3 damage. If you have dealt damage to yourself this turn, draw a card. Wow, Tyrex Mercenary got changed entirely, didn't he? Wow, okay. Enchanted Soil got its healing reduced. I'm okay with that. Umbran Informant. Can only draw you 3 cards. With this change, I honestly don't know if I'd ever run this over Barkeep. I honestly don't know if I'd ever run this over Barkeep anymore. If it can only draw you a maximum of 3, Barkeep is always going to draw you 2 and heal you for 2. I don't know if I'd ever run Informant. Tyrax is new to Chronomoth, and Chronomoth is just godly. What was Chronomoth's change? What was Chronomoth's change? It was way up here, and I don't... Maybe it wasn't. Maybe I just lied. A Crystal Bat was the one I was thinking of, not Chronomoth. Oh, that's right. 4 damage, rotate an action buff 1 step forward. That's right. That is absolutely right. 3 damage, rotate one of your recipient's action buffs 1 step forward. So you can't rotate it backwards anymore. But it is 3 damage with the conditional better increase of manipulating your opponent's board. Your opponent's board. That's where the 3 damaging ones should be. 4 damage if it helps improve your board, but or 4 damage if it helps improve your board. But 3 damage if it actually affects your opponent. Like, that is so much value for you. That's where the 3 damaging should be. Draw 1 card when you remove any buffs from another hero. So she said the same. Did she lose a health? No, her superiority went from soul to death. Her superior changed. That's what it is. It draws one instead of healing? She better get a conditional improve or remove like Duskblade Kennel. Yeah, I don't know. Like Nightglade Kennel, yeah. Maybe. I don't. There's a lot of things for conditional buff removal right now out there. If you run Loot Snatchers in here, that's already 6 cards for buff removal. But yeah, I see what you mean. I don't know. Maybe she'll have it. Maybe she won't. But I do think that something like that needs to help her with her ability. But having too much removal on her would mean that, like... Is it? No, it's not. Is it really Dawnglade Kennel? No, it's Nightglade. It's Nightglade. But, yeah, too much buff removal for her would mean that, like, all you're doing is controlling and removing the board. You're not doing anything proactive. So I don't think you need to go too heavy on her buff removal. It's fine. Sun Beacon, damage to your target. If your last discarded card is Chimchu, gain 1 additional action. This is amazing. I love this. It really fits into the Chimchu home. It's a card that just says, you know, deal essentially 3 damage, but you get additional actions if you're playing Chimchus. It's great. I love it. I think it's awesome. Dawn Wanderer. Look at rearrange the top 3 cards of your deck. Draw 1 card face up. If it's Chimchu, gain additional action and deal 2 damage to your target. Once again, Awesome. Fits really well into the Chimchu theme. I love it. So much potential. Battle Priestess. Damage to your target. Draw 2 cards. Increase both of the values by 1 if your last discarded card is Chimchu. So no more of the all healing you receive is damage. None of that shenanigans. Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, is it worth it for a 4-corner buff to do this? And people ran Astronomer to draw 4 cards. If you run this and then have a Chimchu on top and then lay the Ice Feather Mystic, I'll spin it forward. 3 damage, draw 3 cards for free action. There's a lot of ways to manipulate this that I'm okay with it being a 4th corner buff, in all honesty. Is Astronomer XX3 now? Did it get changed? Okay. I mean, either way, you could now Astronomer into Ice Feather Mystic on the same turn and be bonkers. But yeah, I'm okay with this change. Once again, it feels like the card got entirely reworked and it could have just been a new card. But doing this means they don't have to get new art assets and all that other stuff for it too. This is fine. This is a fine change. Battle Priestess was way more of a niche deck in the first place. So I know, Wrangler, I'm going to get so confused when making decks now. It's going to be nuts. 3 damage if you have an undead buff and play, draw a card. Once again, this one actually would have been okay if it was 4 damage, draw a card, if it was a conditional, simply because the conditional relies on you and it's not affecting your opponent in any way. This one I actually would have been okay with. 4 damage, but if you have an undead buff in play, draw a card. But then again, it's card draw and not like board manipulation. So there is some stipulation there as well with damage. So maybe it's fine. The only difference is, like, instead of this being 3 damage, draw a card, this is now 3 damage, but if you have an undead buff, draw a card. Corrupted Spirit was always very commonly run. So maybe this change was needed for her conditional card draw. I don't know. Like I said, I would still love a developer insight of how they determine how much damage a card can do based on what else it does in the game. So but yeah, I'm okay with that change. It did need a change for the conditional card draw, because otherwise it was always running almost all dread decks, because it was 3 damage, draw a card. It needed a change. Burn when you get attacked. Move 1 or more Chimchu cards or discard pile to your hand. I'm okay with that. It removes it returns a specific family and not just any card. So you can't return Pathfinders. You can't do anything ridiculous with it. I'm okay with that. Returns 3 if you get attacked. So what you're saying, RG, is we need another interview with Benny. I mean, I'm always up for talking with Benny. Benny's great. Magma Potta. Return all your elemental buffs to your hand, including any cards stored under them. That I would have been okay if it didn't return the cards stored under them. I really would. It only affects like 1, maybe 2 buffs that I can think of. Or damage to your target equal to the number of elemental buffs you have in play, plus 4, and remove them. I would have been okay with it still being 3 and able to return my elemental buffs. I would have been A-okay with it. 4 damage. I mean, it's 4 damage. There is, I guess, some drawbacks where sometimes you don't want to do the other one and you have to choose one, so it's fine. So it's fine at 4. I think it's fine at 4. But I don't think that the cards under him needed to be returned as well. I don't think that was necessary. I think that gave it a major power increase if you're running it in a very high elemental deck. Yeah, this card got a major boost. In all honesty, I didn't think it needed it, but it got a boost, and above boost of what it needed. And it's going to be really good to play in elementals now, in an elemental buff deck. Because now you can return the... Oh god, what's the one that they store elementals under it? The 5 damaging one. I cannot think of the name. It's a fire. Can also return mountain breakers. It can do a bunch of other things. If only Stone Scribe. No. Stone Scribe could just die. Do whatever you want. Didn't we already look at this? Yeah, I think we did. We already saw that. And not burn. Flame Chain Inferno. Thank you. 2 healing. Rotate one of your beast buffs 1 step forward, then restart it. Did the healing get decreased? Oh no, it got healing added on. A card that I was already over the moon about and how powerful I thought it was got an increase to also heal you. That's nuts. That's nuts. Also, Magma Potter returns elementals, and the cards under them. This card alone. Oh God, where is the one I'm thinking of? This run in a Bloom and Scorch deck with Feral Spirit could be a new archetype. Because there's a lot of Beasts cards in between fire and what nature has. And Feral Spirit is an elemental. And you use Bloom and Scorch to kill off your fire beast buffs, like your Magma Worm, your Draga Scorcher, all that stuff. Put them under Feral Spirit. Have Feral Spirit deal its damage. Then Magma Potter the Feral Spirit for 5, and return all those beast buffs and the elemental buffs to your hand. I think of Magma Potter with Feral Spirit with Bloom and Scorch could be ridiculously strong. Also, all of the elemental buffs that you're already getting from Bloom and Scorch, between Fire and Soul, Magma Potter getting to Elemental is going to open that guy up in a big way. That's nuts. Not even just inside of Fire, but in a Bloom and Scorch deck, I could see that being ridiculously strong too. That might be a fun deck to try and build. Molten Swimmer, draw 1 card, 2 damage to target, increases by the number of elemental buffs you have in play. Finally, a card that I thought was very underwhelming when I first saw it got a major increase. It did not need to heal. It did not need to deal damage and heal equal to the different fire buffs you had out in play. Getting into the elemental family and then drawing you a card, this card is going to see an Uprise in play. If it ever comes in set 2, I think this is going to be an Uprise in play of how good this card is actually going to be. Because people ran cards that were 3 damage, draw a card. Think about that. Have 1 elemental buff in play. This is now draw a card, 3 damage. That's good. Molten Swimmer is amazingly strong. Molten Swimmer with a Flame Burrower with a lot of elementals in play means you get to bring it back to your hand again. Like, I think Molten Swimmer got a major increase, and it's going to be insane now. Molten Swimmer into Magma Potter. If you want to. If you want to return all your elemental buffs. But yeah, Molten Swimmer is amazing. You should have some paper next to you to write the ideas on when you get them while streaming. I could just rewatch the stream. Reduced to a base 1. I mean, there's still a lot of good elemental cards out there that even drawing a card makes it worth it. 2 damage, draw a card. People will run that. Possible increase on it. We don't know if Flame Burrow is the same. True. Very true. But yeah, Feral Spirit with Magma Potter just blew my mind thinking about that. That's going to be awesome. Exterior Fabricator. This one I saw and was just blown away by its increase in power level for location decks, simply because when you play a location, you get to restart this. We've seen a rise in buffs that are so good on cyclical value, being able to restart them with certain effects. The Puddle Volter in Storm is such a good card simply because you can restart it when you lay a water card. Now, it gives you healing and damage on the number of location buffs, and then you get to restart it whenever you lay a location buff. This card is actually going to see a lot more play than it did before, which was none, because it actually helps your location. It's really good healing and then damage at the end. It's really good. Flameburrow needs to be returning the elementals. I wouldn't say that. I mean, you don't need to run it in all elemental decks. I was fine with it being fire, because you only ran it in superior fire. If it was all elemental, it would once again broaden up elementals so much that there would be no reason not to run it in that elemental deck. Now it's good if you have superior fire. It could even return a fire elemental card that you just played to your hand, and it would be good. You would have to be fire superior for it to get the benefit. And it would then once again be like, okay, well, if I want to run it, I have to find a hero who's fire superior. Otherwise, it's not a card it would run. It's a support card that works with only a few heroes. I think it'll be fine. Already looked at that one. Cabal Sorceress, as we saw, it decreased to 2, which is awesome. The Heap is back. When any of your machine or robot buffs expires, heal for 2 and draw a card. So it's not consistent, but it is clunky, and I love it. I love it so much. Fits in with families really well. I am super happy about this card. I am glad this card is not going away. I'm glad that it got changed to have a little bit more power level. We didn't need it to be a constant buff out there, but having it be clunky means that it can stick around, so that it can work with heroes like Truestone. It's completely unusable otherwise. I'm actually okay with that, because you shouldn't include it in every mountain deck. Oh, it only has 2 corners now? So it's only 2 and 3? Still, it's fine. It's a clunky corner buff that stays out there for mechanical, for Truestone. That could work. If it draws you a card, you don't necessarily need 3 corners on it. I'm fine with the change if it's just 2 and 3. But yeah, TS, if Flameburrow was only unusable, or if only usable in his Fire Superior, that's fine. You don't need it in every deck. You don't need it in every deck. That opens up the deck variance. If you want to use it, pick the hero that uses it well. If not, then find something else. That should be how the deck's variant. I'm okay with it. Oakthorn Rider, 3 damage. If you have an insect buff in play, draw a card. I like the change. It's simply a corrupted spirit that works with insects. That's a great change. I think. I'm trying to think, before it was like 3 damage increased by 1 for each other different family you had, I think is what Oakthorn Rider was. And it was like rarely ever used. I found one deck that I was able to get like 6 or 7 damage out of it and was like, oh, that works. But I think this is a better change. I think this is a much better change for that. Because once again, hey, I got an insect. I'm going to cycle through my deck extremely fast. It's going to be awesome. Rubble Scavenger. Move Run Robot card from your discard pile to your hand. If you have a combo buff in play, discard the top 3 cards of your target's deck. Interesting. I actually like this. With all the sacrificing that we're doing in tech, with our robots at least, being able to move 1 from the discard pile back to our hand to lay it again, I'm absolutely okay with this. This goes along with the same thing that the discard archetype needs to have, is you are burning through so much more resources than your opponents are because you're trying to get that additional value out of them, that by discarding and removing all this stuff, you expend your stuff really quick, and you need to have some sort of way to get those stuff back into your hand. And with the robots being the main family that does the discarding, or like the removal of its own stuff, having a specific robot recursion is great, which is once again where I come from, where I say the Umbrons need an Umbron recursion if they are going to be the main family that does the discard. We need something along the lines of returning Umbrons to the deck after they've been used and discarded and stuff like that. I noticed a card in the set with Assembly in its name, and I'm hoping it's inspired by Professor Nutty. Really? Wrench Juggler, heal you suffer 2 damage. If you played another robot or machine card this turn, move 1 item card from your discard pile to your hand. That is a much better improvement than what it was before. Because this, it literally only worked if you were superior in mechanical. It was the only way to get an item back. That you still play a family. That's fine. It really requires you to have only run items. You have to run those 2 families. It's so narrowed down that I think it works perfectly fine. Without it, I mean, even after it, it's still just heal 2, deal 2. Which is, it's subpar. It's a 4-point swing. But it has the additional increase that is solely based on you to get an additional increase on the card to want to run it over other cards. So yeah, Wrench Juggler I think is a much needed improvement so that you can run it outside of a mechanical superior deck. Maybe Dugout Reactor makes Wrench Juggler with Tyrex Tuner. Yeah! Tyrex Tuner is amazing. And it was so underwhelmed that now with this, I think it's just Wrench Juggler with Tyrex Tuner is going to be great. Mantic's Weaver, 4 healing. While this is on the top card of your discard pile, your insectoid buffs cannot be removed. Yes! All of the yes. Oh, first of all, 4 healing. That's great as it is. But then if you're playing insects, they can't be removed. Once again, it only affects your board, which is why the number 4, I'm okay with it. If it affected your opponent's board, that's where I think we're going into 3, because then it has a big swing and it actually affects your opponent, where this is just increasing your standpoint. Where, yeah, 4 healing, and then your insect buffs can't be removed. That's awesome. That is so good. Insect Swarm, Mantic's Hatchlings, all this other stuff. They stick out there, and you can't do anything to it. I think before, even Mantic's Weaver beforehand, it had opportunities, but now that the way they changed how abilities trigger and their effects go off, it really killed how Mantic's Weaver was running. So changing it entirely, I think, was a great move, and changing it to something like this is great. It's extremely great. Spectral Web can go burn in a forest somewhere. I'll take Mantic's Weaver any day. I hated that card so much, and I ran it in every nature deck. I did. Let's splash Puppet Master in real quick. You know it. Can't wait till they bring out some more Insect and Shadow, right? Woo! Sipid Queen. Defendability. 1 healing. Move insect attack cards from your discard pile to your hand. This is what I mean. Sipid Queen doesn't get always constant graveyard recursion where you never get to the deck out point because you're always playing a card, but it puts them into your hand from your discard pile. So yeah, you self-mill and then bring them back from your discard pile to your hand, not to your deck, but to your hand. So you get to choose. And yes, they have to be attacks, but guess what? Duskbloom Burrower. Yeah, I'll return 1, lay that for 8. Return 1, laid for 8. The Sipid Queen, and now that it is 4 clunky corners, you do actually want to run 3 of them in your deck. Before it was just like you ran 1 and you found it so that near end of deck it didn't get milled with its burn, and you could just have a cyclical thing. I think this is a much needed improvement for the card to make you want to run more than 1 copy of it in your deck, and it fits really well into that archetype that I love, and I'm going to try and build immediately of self-mill insects. It's going to be great. Oh, it's so nice. Hatchling out, next turn attack and queen, repeat. Yeah, and then at the end, you get 2 healing and 2 insect attack cards. Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. And it's a defendability, and there's a lot of things in there for nature, I think, that's like when you defend. So Royal Bumbler, boom. Look at that. You can use Royal Bumbler with Sipid Queen and get that off too. There's a lot of really cool things that I think this new version of Sipid Queen is amazing to see. Spectral Mantics works very well with Queen and Weaver. Spectral Mantics. Oh god, what does Spectral Mantics do? Oh, yes. Restart it when you heal for one or more. Yep. Yes, it does. With Weaver on top, so it can't be removed. Then Sippa Queen just keeps returning them. Yeah. Insects are going to be so good. Oh, did Royal Bumbler get changed? I mean, it probably did. That card was very underwhelming, in my opinion. But, oh, Sippa Queen looks so good. So good right now. Right after your school break? Why does it have to be on a Monday when I got to work? Huh? Why can't it be on a Friday and enjoy the weekend with all this stuff? Royal Bumbler is 008? Oh, that's really good. That's really good. So that you don't have to wait 3 turns. As a center display, choose a family. Buffs of the chosen family and the target are dormant. If this expires, move 1 elemental card from your discard pile to your hand. This looks amazing. This looks amazing. It's not just 2 families. You actually get to choose the family, so it actually got an increase off of that. And then if it expires, move 1 elemental card from your discard pile to your hand. So you actually get to bring back, like, Dust Fiend or Dust King, cards that you would use before, and then bring them back to help pay for combos. Royal Windrunner, I think, is going to have a really nice place in a lot of Storm decks, actually. This looks great. And, oh yeah, the Bumble Squad is up. Bumbling for days. Tyrex Engineer, reveal the top 5 cards of your deck. And for every robot card amongst them, heal for 2. Yes! This I think was a much needed change, too, because the old one was just look for mechanical cards, which was a specific element. This one actually looks for family. I am super excited for all the family changes that we're getting to these cards. So the Tyrex Engineer is a much needed change. I don't know if you needed to look at the top 5. I know the Umbron one was look at the top 4. I think look at the top 4 would have been fine. I don't think we need to extend to 5. Mind you, you're not drawing any of them, but I don't think we need a card that could potentially heal for 10. Just for looking at the top 5 cards. I think 4 would have been fine. But healing has been changed, so maybe like this big spike healing only working with robots is good, and I'm just being ridiculous now trying to kill everything. So man, yeah, Tyrex Engineer, it seems fine. Moved into the hand to heal for 1. That would make Umbron Sergeant not unique in its way how it deals with Umbrons. That would mean there's a card out there that works the same with robots that it does with Umbrons. I'm okay with the healing for 10. I'm okay with that. There's so many, like I said, there's so many things in tech that can draw you cards, get cards into play for free. There's a bunch of things that I don't think I needed to draw them. It does need to be a little different in variant so it doesn't feel the same as everywhere else. That's the whole point. That Corrupted Spirit and Chronomoth are not the same card. Changing it is fine. Disturbed Elemental. Damage equal to the number of insectoid buffs you have in play. Heal yourself for 3. Oh my word. Yes, yes, and more yes. Oh, this is just it. Everything is going right. This is so good. I love the insect family so much, and all of these card changes are only helping it. Only helping me love this game. Oh, this is going to be nuts. No, there's not a cap. There's not a cap on this. You can get your insect buffs out all day and do like 7 damage and heal yourself for 3. Oh, it's so good. Could be a little detrimental if there's no cap on that, but I'm not complaining. What's Spore Feeder looking like, though? I don't know. I don't know what Spore Feeder's looking like. That one's a finisher, for sure. For sure. And it's a forest attack card. It's not an animal, it's a forest. That's ridiculous. Droplet gain 1 additional action. If you played another elemental card this turn, heal for 3. So the healing got reduced from 4 to 3. And it went from a water to an elemental, which is absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. Bone Chewer, 3 damage. If last discarded card is a robot, heal yourself for 3. Yes. Yes. Once again, cards dealing with certain families. I love it. Get them out with Mantix up, chip away, boom, disturbed. Dude, I am loving this. So it got, if it expires, draw a card, which is awesome. The tech ones, they should give you an additional increase. They were just kind of like mad before, but now at least like, hey, I get to draw once it goes away. Everyone's sleeping on Persistent Skeeto. Oh, it's been changed to 3 damage instead of draw 1. That's fine. I'm okay with that, actually. If you weren't able to heal that whole time, getting 3 damage on the expire over a card draw, that fits thematically pretty well with it. That's not bad. Getting a 3 damage after it expires. You can't heal for 4 turns. I mean, we already saw this one. Rotate one of your action buffs 1 step forward. That's an awesome increase. Epic Master. All your buffs 1 step forward and heal for 2. Or rotate one of your action buffs 2 steps backward. So did it get the heal for 2? Is that what the increase was? I think that's what the increase was. Soul Thief is now 4 healing, 1 damage. Oh, it can move combo buffs forward. Oh, that's nuts. That's nuts. Wait, what's going on? What are we talking about? Skeetos? Feasting Skeetos? What did that get changed to? Is it down here somewhere? Probably is. Yeah, Epic got a huge buff increase. That's awesome to see. Scrapworks Bruiser has stayed the same. Actually, we've modified Tyrix Mercenary, though. We did see that. Boulder Feast and Vitalizing Frog are both reduced to 5 healing. That's fine. Persistent Skeetos. Was it not on the channel? What is Persistent Skeetos? Did we not do the Shadow League, all of them? Were they not all on here? They must not have been. What's the Persistent Skeetos? Do I have them on my channel? I wonder if I do. It's in an insight. Oh, okay. That's okay. That's why it's not on there then. Oh, okay. As the centers play, your target draws 1 card. Whenever they play a card, deal damage to them. Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's going to be a fun insect buff to put out and play. There's so much fun with insects to do right now. It's ridiculous. So Ushi is reduced in 3 to 4 cost. Infiltrator can only bring back solar cards. Swamp Creeper sends back poison cards. Root Singer does beast and insectoid, and so on. Okay. So yeah, all the recursion are now family-specific recursion. Which, if I'm not mistaken, not to dust my own shoulders off, I did say that would be a good change for the game if the Graveyard recursion was more family-specific, so that it was not so generic. So, I'm a smart little monkey. Splash Gravis and into Axie with the new paralysis bug. That could be fun. For example, Yokona Tactician's healing is down to 3. Anti-Gravity and Twilight Oracle are becoming 1+3 instead of 2+2. That's good. I like the plus being the major increase over the 2+2. So I'm A-okay with that. Wandering Starformer's damage is down to 3. Astronomers become XS3, and so on. Okay. Astral Priest now requires your last discarded card to be a buff as opposed to a lunar card. Corrupted Spirit now requires an undead buff in play to get the card draw, as we've seen. Putrid Shaman is now X2, X2. I think Storm Shaman kind of got that same treatment where they were split up between 2 turns. Or not Storm Shaman. Colossal Ritual Site? No. What was the other one that had 2 turns of damage increase? I thought it was something like that. Before we use an example of defensive recursion, Blinding Beetle will no longer heal. Okay. A-okay with that. No longer healing, just remove 2 attack cards. I'm actually... But the current version of Necro Dreadling, we are playtesting as 4 healing, 1 card draw. 2 healing, 3 back. Okay. The Astra one, X22. I thought that got changed. I thought there was... Oh, no, I'm thinking of cards like Ancient Miner. Oh, okay. Where it was X1, X2, where it got another turn in split. And the healing one, the Tree Sprout for nature. Those are the ones that I'm thinking of that got their increase or whatever they're doing split between like 1 off, 1 on, 1 off, 1 on. Bumbler is currently 9 damage and no longer rotates from defending on its last corner. Please tell me that is sticking with the XX8, is that does not rotate off its last corner. Please tell me that is still staying. Because that would be so good for Bumbler to not, like, accidentally rotate away before you could use it. I would much appreciate that on Bumbler. Yes! Oh, Benny's confirmed it here, guys. It does not leave play once it rotates. Oh, that's so good. You can just defend all day, every day, and then get it to its final corner and do it. Oh, that's so much better. 4 corners. The first one is clunky. The last 3 are smooth for Cage. This can't be removed. At the end of your turn, deal 1 damage to your target. It can't be increased by effects. Whenever you heal for 1 or more, rotate this 1 step forward. Okay. So, I mean, it's only has 1 clicky corner. Mud Turtle getting so amped up about Bumbler. You know it, man. Yeah, so rotate only has 1 clicky corner. Then it starts to go forward. A-okay with that. I don't know if Benny was here when I first said it. That my change to the Cage of Oppression was you could keep 3 clunky corners, have it rotate on 1, but have it be it only does damage if you are above 15 or more health. As soon as you drop below, it stops doing its damage. So that way your opponent had a secondary condition to, in a sense, turn it off, and you could turn it back on by healing, but you would have to rotate it forward. That was my solution to Cage of Oppression, is having the secondary condition that your opponent could actually interact with as of your health to turn it off. And then if you wanted to turn it back on, you have to heal, which would then trigger it to rotate and all that other stuff. That was my condition on how to improve Cage of Oppression, so it wasn't just always a good card. But I like this, where it only has 1 click corner and then rotates. A lot more viability to rotate things forward and stuff like that. I think that's really nice to see. Granite still has +3 from its previous errata and now 30 health. Okay. Regrowth is now burn and has lost a point of healing. Still only an action buffs from previous nerf. Okay. Yokona Oracle and Wall of Bones are currently 2/2/1. I think that's 2/2/2 now. If 20 or less. Yeah, I could even go 20. The point that I said that have the conditional increase that your opponent can interact with your health is that the card was specifically designed to stop stall. And stall in no way, shape, or form interacts with your opponent's health. So the simple fact that stall could do nothing to it, it was fine. But if you're not playing against stall, your opponent had a secondary way to turn it off. And by being aggressive towards you. And you had to find a way to turn it back on if you wanted it back on. So that was my fix to Cage of Oppression, is to have a secondary condition that your opponent could interact with because there's no way you interact with Cage at all. And the second way you do it is to interact with their health to then interact with the card. But Yokona Oracle and Wall of Bones are actually 2/2/2, so that's been changed. Mountain Fort lost its last corner. So Mountain Fort is only 3 corners now. Interesting. Ramparts reflects 2 instead of 1. Okay. Supply Carrier now heals for 3. No change to Dust Talent at this time. Mantix Tunneler is now at 6 and 6 instead of 5 and 6. Okay. Quart. He has 31 health and can be increased by effects. Awesome. Antimatter Field 8 from up 5. Tidal Shift 5 healing down from 6. Living Shadows 6 healing from 4. Living Shadows wasn't really used at all. I hope we finally get some cards to utilize Living Shadows with in the future. But it's just, there's nothing to utilize it with because all the shadow buffs had a condition on to when they activated. So yeah, I hope that Living Shadows actually becomes a lot better. Wild Spirit into Immediate Bumbler. Blacksmith into Shrine. Mantix hatching on top. Dude, we've like so many good things are going to happen. It's great. I love it so much. Shroud of Night. Corners are down to 2/1/1. Fiery Weapons are 0/6/6/6 up from 0/5/5/5. Stream of Tantos 5 damage down from 6. Invigorate 7 healing up from 5. Yeah, because Invigorate wasn't used at all. Because you always had more puffs than your opponent, so there was no reason to run Invigorate. So I'm glad to see that Invigorate is a big spike heal for nature now. That's really good. Bane Bloom, 3rd corner, no longer deals damage, down from 2. I hope it is still just a card draw. They took away the damage on it. I hope you still get to draw 2 cards. Because that was a huge thing about Bane Bloom. No one cared about the damage. It could have just read draw rotation card, and that's all Bane Bloom did. And I'd be okay with Bane Bloom. So just don't take away my card draw. Otherwise, Bane Bloom is dead. Mistform, corners now 3/3/3, up from 3/2/2/2. Oh, I thought it was 3/3/2/2. Never mind. Overload. Bonus from discard is now 1 less. Okay. Reactor Overdrive now rotates when any hero plays a combo as opposed to just target. Nitro Shield 12 healing down from 13. I think Reactor Overdrive giving that buff so that you can lay combos and rotate it forward is really good for it. Before it was not really that all utilized. So now that you have some control over it, I think is really well done. Snowcast Elder, gain 1 additional action without stat restrictions. That just blew my mind. I was like, why does it need to be no stat restrictions? Mind you, now with Astral, you can do like solar, lunar into solar. But that's just so good. That just got a major increase to Snowcast Elder being now utilized. Yokona Tactician. Wait, are they both from 1? They are both from 1. Bane Bloom does just draw now. That's okay. That's all I wanted from Bane Bloom in the first place. I did not care about the damage. All I wanted was the card draw off of it. 3 or 2 healing. You may rotate one of your action buffs 1 step forward. If your last card is gravity, gain 1 initial action. Okay, so instead of 4 healing additional action, you manipulate the board with half the healing. Okay. So it's just the last corner that it doesn't deal damage. That's A-okay. Yeah. That's A-okay. Like I said, I still would have run Bane Bloom if it just read draw cards. Still would have run it. That's all I needed from Bane Bloom was just card draw in nature. Mind you, we're getting a lot of it now, so maybe a little bit of damage out of it is fine. But yeah, we are getting a lot more card draw in nature than we had previously. So Bane Bloom's power level might be decreased, just based on how much especially with Soul of the Forest. Be able to just move stuff into the deck. I don't know, but we'll see. Turning into a 2/1/1 for essentially drawing 3 cards right when it comes into play because of the buff or the combo aspect, and then draw 1 card and 1 card. I'm fine with it drawing me 2, then 1, then 2. I'm okay with that. Frenzied Zapper. Deal 3 separate hits of 1 damage to your target. This damage can't be increased by effects. That's really good. Because that means that you don't have to target yourself with 2 damage. So it's 2 healing and then 3 pokes of 1/1/1. Which like absolutely destroys Mountain Fort. It just decimates it. It can't be increased by effects. So it is essentially one of those just like, hey, I need to get through some clunky corners. Frenzied Zapper is the best way to do that. And it's a defend card. And it's an elemental, lightning, all good things. Woods of Confusion as Center's play. And when it expires, now draw a card. No hero can play a card of the same category as their enemy's last discarded card. Woods of Confusion. Yeah, bye-bye Overlook. Overlook is... It's good in certain situations. It's bad against incremental damage. That's where Moss Ridge fits in. But it's great against someone who's going to hit you for 8 in one turn. Then it's amazing. Was a card that only worked in multiplayer, so it needed to change badly. I mean, there's a lot of cards that worked in multiplayer that were really fun. You just take away the multiplayer aspect of them. Woods of Confusion now being able to draw a card after it expires too is really good. Storm Strike is down to 8 damage as opposed to 9. Oh, and its combo payment got changed. It's no longer one of each. It's now Lightning, Lightning, Storm. Or Lightning, Lightning, Wind. That's interesting. Probably makes it so it's not an auto-include in a lot of Storm decks because that one was just paid for everything, like Stormwall, and then got to look for a combo. It was just really good. Snowcast Elder. Now, here's the one thing, just on the art aspect of it. Why are there X's on all the corners? You would think that with an X on it means this card does nothing. It's dormant in a sense. If there's X on all 4 corners, this buff is just dormant for 4 turns and then goes away. I would assume the X's are not meant to be there, but that's just me. I don't know, but I'm just like, I looked at that and was like, so that buff does nothing for 4 turns. They are meant to be there. Okay. Oh, okay. Because it's only as it enters play and leaves play. It's nothing to do conditionally. Okay. Gotcha. I read this as this buff is in play, all players' decks are flipped upside down. Kind of like the combo that you referred this to. But it's just as it enters play and as it leaves play. So it does have those 2 triggers. That makes more sense. I just misread the card and misinterpreted how it works. But as it enters play, it does it. And then when it leaves play, draw a card and all other players flip their decks upside down. Okay. That's where my misinterpretation was. So when it enters play, flip, draw. Then when it leaves play, whether it's removed or whatnot, flip, draw. Okay. I think Snowcast Seer, this buff, and I think Benny even talked about why they changed this card, is because drawing the cards face up was not really that well utilized because you didn't really care what your opponent was drawing and you had to remember it. But being able to see your opponent's top card of the deck was always really important. So having that come in an action card as opposed to the combo, I think Snowcast Seer is actually going to be a really fun card to utilize now, because not only does it work for your deck to know what cards you're going to draw, but with this and in the self-mill especially, if you can look at what top card your opponent is, you can determine whether or not you really want to mill it. Just like the one solar card that we got that mills the top card if it shares the same with an element, they take 5. You can now make sure that almost always it's 5. So that's a really nice way to see that this card can be utilized in a lot of different ways now, as opposed to just whenever your opponent draws a card, they draw it face up. That didn't do much for the game at all, and it was very underutilized. So this much needed improvement on the card. Oh, okay. So if you're playing it with a lunar item, they would remain upside down if your item went away and then this went away, because it is technically in limbo. That's interesting. That's really interesting. That you could, like, pseudo break the game and make it so that your deck was always face up. That's really, yeah, with Jalokia, yeah. That's really interesting. I love that idea. That idea sounds amazing. We have Necrophant. Discard 1 card. Move the bottom card of your discard pile to your hand. 2 healing. Draw a card. So this is no longer 2 defends. It has to be the bottom card. It's not a specific look for. It's whatever the bottom card is, that's what you get back. That's a good change for Necrophant. I think Necrophant was way much too into, I get to look for defend cards. And this one also draws you a card too, so that's really good. Dead? I don't think it's dead. I think it got changed to fit a specific archetype, and it's no longer going to lead into a million fatigue where you're just bringing back defense. You're bringing back the first card you used. You don't know about Necrophant's change? Really? It kills your Bumbler. TS, what if your Bumbler's the first one to go? This saves your Bumbler. I think it's fine. I mean, in a sense, this is also one of those drawbacks where if it's the only card in your hand, you don't have to discard. You get to bring the bottom card back and draw a card. That's the avoiding the drawback. Yes, it's the bottom card. But I mean, you could just run Fluximo and do the same thing, right? Fluximo could do it too. And with how much Dread manipulates the discard pile, I'm sure you could start moving stuff from the bottom to the top to make sure Necrophant hits something good. I'm sure you could do that. So I think Necrophant's fine. It does feel like it got a nerf, but adding the card draw on there, I think, really helped it. This works well with that one item. Not sure. Puppet Master. Yeah, I mean, when you look at Puppet Master, the game changes entirely. The game changes almost entirely now. Two healing, swap the position of two cards in your discard pile. Yeah. Yeah, that could be something. You could, I wouldn't say reorder it, but you could definitely, like, swap position of two cards. That would definitely be like a tech, like, probably on an item. I could see that being on an item. Because having that on an action card, the action card would just be terrible. But putting it on an item, to have it be able to use every once in a while, I think that'd be fine. Living Cloud, 3 damage. Increase the recipient's... Oh, by 3 if they have no buffs in play. And draw a card. That's really nice. It's still 6 damage. Oh, if they have 3 or more buffs in play, draw a card. I read that wrong. So it's 3 damage with a condition to draw a card. This one... This one, I would have liked this one to be 4 damage. This one I would have liked to be 4 damage because A, it's still a good card, but B, the conditional increase is solely based on your opponent. It's nothing you can do. I mean, unless you splash into other orders like the Soul of the Forest and whatnot, it's completely conditional on your opponent's side of the board to get the conditional increase. So you don't have full control over how this card works. If this was a 4 damage card, if your opponent had 3 or more buffs in play, draw a card, then I think this would be a good card. But because it's 3 damage and the condition is met on your opponent's side, I think that's way too much of a variable, where I do think the damage needs to be increased by 4 to this one. Because Corrupted Spirit, all you have to do is have an undead, and it's the same card but better. Because you control entire aspects of this card. The Oakthorn Rider, all you have to do is have an insect and you draw a card. It's the same card, but the condition is 100% up to you to meet. This one is all on your opponent, and if they don't play buffs or don't have buffs, 3 buffs, then you don't get to draw the card. Which is why I think the 4 damage would be better. I think should be 4 damage, draw 1 if you have no buffs. Storm has a lot of removal aspects anyway. If it was... No, because I mean, the conditional increase can't just be if you have no buffs in play, because then that leads into why would you play buffs? Why would you play buffs? we already have a card that says if your opponent has less than 5 cards, you get to draw a card. We already have cards like that. So we already have cards that deal with your opponent's hand size. I'm okay with just increasing this to 4 and then having your opponent with 3 or more buffs draw a card. I'm okay with that. If they have none, once again, that's so what you're saying is you would have the card be 4 damage if your opponent has no buffs in play, draw a card. I still am not a fan of that. Especially with the new meta that we're trying to build of buff play. Yes, you have a lot of ways to remove buffs in Thunderslug and all that stuff for deterrence like that. But if you're looking at Living Cloud the way it is now, when it's really good against people who don't play buffs, they just play attack and defense, we are now moving into an era where people are going to start playing buffs. And them always having one on board, especially with the new relics that are constant on board and they're not rotating out, having that be where your opponent has no buffs on board, you're almost never going to have that happen unless it's in the first turn. Because of all the buffs that are now going to be persistent with the relics in their clunky corners, you're never going to have a reliable time when your opponent has no buffs on board. The reason I would keep it the same as it is and just increase it to 4 is, like I said, the conditional draw increase is solely on your opponent's side. It has nothing to do with what you can control. Yeah, this current cloud feels so much weaker than Oakthorn Warrior, than Corrupted Spirit, solely because its conditional card draw increase is reliant on your opponent's board, when everything else, other cards like this, is reliant on what you do. You have 100% control over it. So if this card was increased to 4 damage, but you could draw a card if they had 3 or more, then I think it's okay. Then I think it would be fine. Because it's reliant on your opponent to give you an increase. Yeah, Storm already has the, if they have 5 or less cards in their hand, do something. They don't need another card like Living Cloud to do that. Yeah, I do think that Living Cloud does need a slight change, whether it's just a damage increase or something. But yeah, having the draw card condition be met by your opponent's board state, and then comparing it to the other cards that are 100% controlled by you, I do think this card needs a bit of a change. I would say just make it 4 damage and I'd be fine with it. What if there's a Storm card maybe that was 2 damage, increases by 2 for every elemental you've played this turn? I mean, now you're getting into, you need additional actions, and you would probably run that in Mountain with that new Flame Chained Elder that we got that increases damage after you lay an elemental. 6 damage with Droplet and Spark Wisp. Yeah. I mean, you could. You could. It would essentially be like Salvager is with items, but it would have to be reliant on the elementals you play in a turn. I don't know. It's you could. I don't know how often you'd be able to get its full value out. Throw in the Abyss while you're working on it. You guys are crazy. You guys are insane. But yeah, I do think that Living Cloud needs a bit of an up, either to its damage by 1, or whatnot. But it all, like I said, it all depends on. Well, no, it doesn't all depend, because the other cards you could literally first turn lay an undead buff, 3 damage, draw a card, or lay an insect buff, 3 damage, draw a card. This one you have to wait till your opponent has 3 cards, so you can't get its value off the first turn. So you do need to increase this by damage some way, I think, to make it at least viable, like the other ones are, where you could have control over it being 4 damage, or wait till your opponent gets 3 buffs, then it's 4 damage, draw a card. But because it's not 100% reliant on you, I think it does need a change. Grimbeak, when your target plays a combo, draw a card. That's fine. Gurgling Ooze is now 2 corners instead of 3, and it has a little bit of damage. I honestly would have been okay with no damage being done. It is a poison buff, so the damage, there's a lot of ways for the poison damage to get bypassed, so that's might be a nice increase. But like, I would have been fine with 2 damage or 2 corners your opponent can't play buffs. That would have been great. I know Subjugator got changed to be someone like this, where your opponent can't attack for 2 turns and it does something else. But like, I would have been fine with just, hey, you can't buff for 2 turns. That is so good. Oh, and it's lost its rarity. You're right. It's not rare. It's common now. Yeah. And Breach the Veil. Increased damage done by 1 when you play a card, draw a card. It's not 2, so the damage increase got dragged down. Bone Reaper's damage got decreased by 1, but its healing stayed the same. That's fine. Frozen Totem, we already talked about. Great card. Colossi Artifact. Action cards can't deal more than damage to you, so 4/4, then 3/3. So it got an increase on its last 2 corners. I like that. I really do. I think there were a lot of cards out there that were very commonly doing 4. So having it like decreased by 1 made this nowhere near any better than running like a Monster's Defender or anything like that, which was just 10 times better at all. So I think Colossi Artifact getting that nice increase is nice. Everrock Relic, 3 damage, increases by 3 if you're holding a combo card, and move that combo card to your deck. I like it. I like it a lot. I can't... Fumbling Alchemist makes you discard the combo for an additional 2. This one doesn't kill your resources entirely. So, oh, Relic is an artifact now? That's true, it is. I mean, which is awesome. So is Frozen Totem. So really that's the only change that it had is it got a family. That's all it did. Subjugator. So it gives you healing and your target can't attack. When your target defends, rotates this 1 step forward. Oh. Okay, so when you defend, you spin it forward so you can start attacking again. That's nice. I like that addition to Subjugator. Subjugator before was just so strong. So strong. Colossi Idols. Well, this is on the top of your discard pile. Heroes can't play combos. So the only thing that it got was it's part of the Relic family now. It's part of the Relic or Artifact family now. Which is okay. I love when they add families to it. It opens up a whole lot of things. Was Black Market Dealer an artifact buff specifically or just an artifact? Because you could just do the same stuff with that. Black Market Dealer I don't think was a buff. I think it was a defend card, wasn't it? Oh, because it looked for... Okay, I see what you're saying. No, I think Black Market Dealer is... it was one of the first ones. Oh, I think it was in an Insight. Any artifact card. Thank you, Rocket Star. Yeah, so it got to look for any artifact card and add it to your hand. So you could look for that, the Relic. You could look for anything you want, as long as it's an artifact family. Or from your discard pile, too. Discard the top card of your deck to heal for 1. If the discarded card was an elemental, also deal 2 damage to the target. Still not that thrilled about Crodius. In all honesty, I'm still not. Yes, his damage and stuff can be increased and healing and all that. It's just like... I'll have to see how good a discard Crodius deck could work. But right now, discarding for the potential of 3 with the risk of discarding a combo, it doesn't feel all that powerful. Yeah, I think Kolax does it better, TS. I think Kolax discards better because it increases if it's a combo and then otherwise it deals 2 damage. Yeah, this one I'm still not sold on Crodius. But like I said, I'll have to see if there actually is like a viable discard mountain archetype or something like that with elementals. I don't know. We'll see. But him being Earth Superior too kind of makes me wonder why that's all happening. But we will see. Charco Knight. It took away the 1 ping damage. It's only healing. And it can't be increased by effects. Wait, what? So yeah, it took away the damage and just gives you a healing for 1. So Charco Knight got a nerf, which is fine because Charco Knight was like one of the most commonly used Fire Superior heroes out there. So I'm fine with that. Well, you can put down a reactor to discard into for coal. True, like there's actually discard cards in tech to utilize the discard type. We haven't seen a whole lot in Mountain other than the Tantrum and Kriebel, which discarded crystal cards. It doesn't deal damage anymore, though, Rocket Tsar. It's just heal for 1, and the healing can't be increased by effects. There you go. Big brain. Look at that. Recarving 4 healing with the bottom 3 cards in your discard pile to your hand. So it's down from 4 to 3 now, which is fine. Recarving was really good anyway. I skip Magma Spitter. As a Centrist play, heal your target for 2, then damage to him. There's a lot of ways for your opponent to, or for you to reduce your opponent's healing, so I think this is fine. I know Benny said it was being changed. Oh, was it? Okay. Well then, yeah, you can increase the healing. It will lose the can't be increased text. That's great. I think that's really good. As a lot of heroes are losing that text, makes it more viable. I think that'll open it up to at least make her playable still. But yeah, Magma Spitter coming to a buff makes it look like Looper. Heal your opponent for 2, but if you have a Magma Worm down, they don't heal for anything. If you have a lot of things that make them reduce their healing, I think this is an A-OK card. Recarving we already looked at. Everrock Architect. Your location buffs can't be removed or returned by any of the heroes when you get attacked with this 1 step forward. So it got 1 additional corner on it. It got 1 additional corner, and I was already using Everrock Architect in my location buffs deck. So I'm A-OK with this change to make it a little more better for people to run in location style decks. And then, yeah, when you get attacked, rotate it 1 step forward, unless it's the last one. I think before it was just 3 clunky corners. So once you got attacked, you could remove the buffs. But now in like the last turn, like, no, you still can't remove them. It'll go away next turn. I still get another turn. So I like that a lot. Stone Scribe. Instead of discarding store cards under this card, if buff expires, move its store cards to the deck and draw 1. So not a whole lot changed. I think it's 3 corners down instead of 4, and you get to draw a card. So I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine with this. Play it on a Magma Terror. Exactly. See, there's a lot of things in Earth to prevent them from healing. Blood Moon, 10 damage at the start of your turn. If this is on the top of your discard pile, heal yourself for 1. Not bad. There's a lot of ways to manipulate your top card of your discard pile to keep it there, so you can just keep healing for 1. The healing can be increased. The damage can be increased. It's a nice just spike damaging card for Astral Dread. Malfunctioning Sentry. Remove a buff you control to deal 1 damage to your target and make them move 2 cards from their deck back or hand to their deck. Yeah, this is a card that's going to be really fun in sacrificial buff decks, is to manipulate their hands so they can't do anything. I'm okay with this. Territorial Dominance. You have to now have 2 or more buffs in play than the recipient, and it lost the damage. I'm okay with it. Still having it be potential 13 damage is okay. And with nature and how fast you can get your stuffs out, this is still going to be a viable 13 one-shot. It's still going to be fine. Asavak has access to Puppet Master now. Let's go. TS, did you not miss that when I said that? I was like, oh, with that you can just puppet. You don't need to splice into it. Asavak has access to it right away. She's going to be so good. She's going to be so good, dude. Flower Garden. Corners 1 to 3, increase healing done by rotation. Corner 4, you may move a beast buff from your hand into play and expire this. That's nice. That's really good. The decrease in healing, I'm okay with that. We're getting a lot more improved healing for nature as it is. That we don't need a massive 2-2-2-2. And then you get to move a beast buff into play, so you get to go on the offensive after you've been done healing, which is awesome. Den Mother majorly got increased here. Den Mother is like an animal version of the fungal medium, but for animal. You can't heal with it, but you can increase the damage, so it's 7, 7, or 8 if you get attacked. Too busy crying about losing Reality Rift. That's fine, TS. You can cry all day. You can cry if you want to. It's fine. Den Mother, I think, is fine. I think the damage increase on the base stat was a much needed to make it at least a viable card off the bat, as opposed to seems a good time to talk about Starhorn Tusker. Benny, no, you did not. We don't need to talk about a card that doesn't need to change. 3 damage, increased by 1 while in the discard pile. Well, I mean, there's a lot of cards that increase damage if they're on top. Kind of stinks that Starhorn got a little bit of a nerf. It is now a 3 damage card, which I guess is okay. That's a bummer. That's a bummer, Benny. A lot of fun things were going to come out of that, and now you just... Hopes and dreams, man. Hopes and dreams. But I do like the change to Den Mother. It does make it a lot more viable than just being 3/3/4, if I'm not mistaken. So that, like, even if they don't attack, it's still worth running. But then if they do attack you, you can swing back harder. Corrosive Spirit, 2 damage, 1 healing. They move 1 buff action card from their hand to their deck. Yeah. Before it was, I think, 2 damage. They move 3 buffs, which was insane. Corrosive Spirit, I'm fine with the change. Really am. Swap the positions of 2 of your buffs. If you have 3 or more buffs in play, heal for 1. Okay, we finally got an upgrade to a hero that was almost never used because it wasn't that good about rearranging your board in the sense. So maybe with Bloomtender Boast, this will be nice, especially if you can increase the healing. If you can get the healing increased, I think that'll be fine. Rippling Flares change to 7 damage, increases by 2 while on the top of your discard pile. Atomic Avenger. If another hero remove 1 of your buffs since your last turn, damage and healing to those heroes. And healing. So it lost a corner, which is fine. It's still like 4 and 4. That's fine for point swing. Dancing Flutter actually got changed entirely. Draw 2 cards. If your target has 5 or fewer cards in their hand, deal 3 damage to them. Nice. Very nice. Bug Rider. If your last discarded card is combo, increase damage to enemy heroes by 3. When you play a combo, draw a card. So Bug Rider actually got an increase. Bug Rider got a massive increase. Which means that the Abyssal Horror Starhorn Tusker deck is going back to the Abyssal Horror Bug Rider deck, is what I'm saying. It's going back to Abyssal Horror Bug Rider. Eye of the Storm. Healing, damage to the target. So Eye of the Storm went from 3 corners. Oh god, I have to look now. I have to look now. Oh, no. Eye of the Storm went from healing to healing damage. That's what changed. Which is nice, because we didn't need a huge healing spike for 17 healing on a buff. Or on a combo buff. I mean, Puppet Master can make Bug Rider work. Yeah, it can. Yes, it can. I mean, still splashing Bug Rider into it, I'm okay with this. I think Bug Rider into the Abyssal Horror deck that we built, Rocket Star and TS that me and you built, is great. It's still great. Wave Crasher has increased its number from 4 to 6. Increase this by the number of cards stored into this. Move the and there's no cap. And there is no cap anymore. It starts at 6 instead of 4. And there's no cap. So this got a major increase. This got a major increase. I love it. I love it so much. Also, if you're running a lot of water elementals, store them under Wave Crasher and then Magma Potter, bring Wave Crasher back with all the elementals under it. Could be a really fun thing for Ancient to do. So Wave Crasher stores all the elements. You just don't attack with it. You bring it all back to your hand. Then you play them all back down. Sparkblack Splasher says hi. Right? It's a constant water buff out there. But, yeah. You could store your water cards under here. Then you could return it with Magma Potter. Play them all again. A lot of fun things to do with Magma Potter now. It's going to be great. Ashento, whenever you play 2 beast cards in a turn, you may rotate one of your buffs 1 step forward. Did his starting health go down? No? Oh! They got rid of his action card. So he can move combos forward now. That's what he got. So Ashento got a buff. Ancient can't run Wave Crusher well since the cards go under him first. Oh, you're right. You're right. Well, you know what? 5 water cards under him. Lay the Wave Crasher. Then next turn, water cards under the Wave Crasher into the Magma Potter. Never saw it coming. Never saw it coming. You can still do it. You just have to really work up to that turn. Yeah, I cannot wait to use it on Fatal Spirit. That in a Bloom and Scorch deck, I think is going to be awesome. To return all your beast buffs back and then play them because they were under an elemental. I think that's going to be awesome to do. And Big Notron, if you deal damage to yourself, increase the next damage done to other heroes this turn by 3. Increase from 2. I think that's awesome. As the Wrangler-Boom deck is going to have some amazing upgrades to it. Yeah, Wave Crusher change is nice. It actually makes the card viable as it is now a 6 damage attack card used next turn. That can be increased with no cap. Auto Scrapper. When one of your buffs expires, draw 2 cards and deal 2 damage to your target. With all of the stuff in time, it's rotating them things faster. Auto Scrapper will change. Don't know how exactly. Okay. Well, then I won't give my full review on it. But I do like the number increase because before it was just way too situational. But now we're getting a lot of cards that'll rotate all your stuff faster. So with that, rotating 2 buffs out at the same time gets 4 healing and 4 card draw. That's nuts. That's insane. Someone must have drugged you for a moment to increase this by 2. Okay, I'll heal for 4 and draw 4 cards. Wait. Hold on. What? Oh, you deal 4 damage, draw 4 cards. That's what it would be, which is still insane. Warp Toad, select a hero, return up to 2 hero buffs. 2 of that hero's buffs to their hand. I still think this should say action. I don't think this should be able to return combo buffs. Because you could return your own combo buffs. I just don't know about it. I think action buffs on it is fine if you're returning 2 of them with 1 card. I don't think you necessarily need to return 2 combo buffs. That's insane. Like 2 action buffs or 1 combo buff. You could do that. But just, it's so busted. Being able to return 2 combo buffs, it's just like, what? Because like this just shuts down the implant. That one shuts down your empowered implant with like, oh, you can't remove any of my buffs. It's like, okay, well, I'll return them. There you go. And then your OTK is gone. It's like, what? But yeah, Warp Toad, like, that's just so busted to be able to return 2 combo buffs. Before it was 3, and you could switch it up between people. That was broken. But I still think the power level on it is still really good and may need to be looked at. That's just my opinion. I don't know. Anti-Magic Pulse. Your target's buffs are dormant. Gain 1 additional action. Draw 1 cards. And restart 1 of your action buffs. So they're not dormant for 2 turns. But you do get to restart an action buff, which is fine. So it got changed. I don't know. They're only dormant for 1 turn. Yes, you get an additional action off of it. Could be fine for like an OTK shot. You just need their board to do nothing. You get 1 damage through. It could be used the same way. So I think the change is fine. It probably got a little bit of a nerf in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. Slacks the Eternal. Did he get a health increase? Because his hero power looks the same. Yeah, he got 2 health increase to 32. So that's not bad. Glade Priest. Corners 1 and 2. When any hero uses an ability. Oh, when any hero. Oh. That's a lot. Okay, so this got a major increase by having the first 2 corners mean that you can use abilities and still activate it. And then the last 2 is only your opponent uses them. That's not that bad. I still ran this card and thought it was really good with how many abilities were out there. Steel Fort doesn't let you return them either. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's true. Could you just return Steel Fort, though? Return it and then kill it? You could do that. But Glade Priest got a major increase, and I like it. I like the Glade Priest. The Abyss Priest. Dude, I ran this against so many Abyss packages. It was amazing. It was amazing. But yeah, you heal and draw. I love it. At the start of your turn, your target has 6 or more cards in their hand. Deal damage to them. The last corner. Okay, last corner got upgraded to 6 instead of 5 damage. Which is okay. I mean, Battering Ram I don't think was used a whole lot, if almost ever. But if you're running into a nature deck where your opponent's going to have a lot of cards in their hand because you're making them draw, Battering Ram could just be exactly what you need. No more mech buffs can be removed or returned. Oh, none of your mech buffs. Okay. Including itself. Oh, I thought it didn't include itself. Maybe it got changed? I don't know. I always thought Steel Fortification did not include itself. Citadel Safe House. As a Center's play, draw a card. Okay. Defendability. 3 healing. Cards don't do... So... Oh, okay. So as it enters play, you draw a card. And then you get to heal yourself for 3. Okay, so Citadel Safe House actually got an increase. Got a buff. So I like it. It's really nice. It gets you a draw right away. And then when you need the heal for 3, you heal for 3. And then damage can't deal more than 3 to you. That's really good. Oh, here's the new Creeper Potion Master that got changed via Benny. So it deals 3 damage when it expires. Nice. Creeper Saboteur, your damage to other heroes bypasses the amount of damage reduction. If this expires, move 2 action attack cards from your discard pile to your hand. So that actually got a major increase. I like it. Nice. You get to move 2 action attack cards. Chilling Curse, damage to target. Your target can only take 1 action per turn. So the damage got nerfed, but Chilling Curse is still the most busted thing in the frickin' world. Ever. Like, oh my god. Being able to only take 1 action per turn is nuts. And then these 2 new ones today. That is awesome. That is so awesome. Oh, so guys, we got so many changes today. We got so many cards that are being changed. We got so many new cards to talk about. It's over 2 o'clock. That's already past my show. So we didn't really get to play a whole lot, but so much talking. So much talking is amazing. To your deck, not your hand. It's still fine. It brings them back to your deck. I'm really happy that Benny was actually here in chat to talk about this stuff and correct me on some things and bring us the news on a lot of this stuff. But yeah, I do think the Crude Exterminator should go down to 3. I don't think there's any reason it needs to be 4 when all the other ones are 3. I am super excited about these new cards that just dropped today for my Insect Self-Mail Archetype that I want to play so bad. I'm looking so much forward to this. And on the, what is it, the 21st is when all this stuff goes live on that Monday. The 21st, I'm actually going to be streaming that Monday. I am coming in that day to stream. Because that's the new set, and I don't want to have to wait until Saturday to play the new set. So on Monday, I'll be going live, hopefully when I get home from work. I don't know. I'll make sure people know when I go live. But yeah, we'll be playing a long time that night. So look forward to that stream on the 21st on Monday so that I am going to go live and not wait 6 days and have everyone else have fun with the cards while I sit at home going, oh man, I want to save for my streams. So look out for that. I will be streaming on that Monday. So great to hear. It's not busted. Mud, you don't know. You don't even know, man. You don't even know. You'll have to stay up till morning that Monday. Freshen if you want to. You're more than welcome to. But guys, thank you very much for tuning into the show. I will see you guys as expected next week Saturday on the normal time. As far as I'm aware, I have not picked up a shift. So stay tuned for Saturday. And I cannot wait to get my hands on these new cards, talk about the new ones. I will contact Jade, ask her if she wants me to do a reveal. I'll be more than happy to again. So many things. So many things. Hopefully my camera isn't so like fuzzy. I don't know what happened to it, but I'm just so fuzzy now. It's really bad quality. But part of me wants to convince my mom to let me stay off school on Monday. TS, you do whatever you feel is right. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for tuning in today. I'll see you guys next week, Saturday, same time. Cannot wait to see what new cards we have and what card changes we have to talk about then. So, thanks for tuning in, guys. I had a lot of fun. See you next week.